This young man is over 25 years old, but he still doesn't have a stable job. He only dreams all day long of becoming a rich president. His laziness and delusions make his father unable to stand it and beat him, but his father could not imagine that he would become a real CEO in the future. In-sung comes from a rural area and is working hard every day in the magnificent city of Seoul. He used to cherish the dream of becoming an actor. He has participated in many extra roles, but the results he has achieved are just zero. In-sung has tried to do all kinds of jobs to earn money to support his life, even dressing up as Snow White. When all the children were happily surrounding him, a little girl ran up and asked her mother's permission to take a picture with Snow White. However, when the little girl got close to Snow White, she covered her nose and told her mother that Snow White smelled like her father at home. Hearing that, the mother immediately came closer to check, and she detected the smell of alcohol. The manager then asked In-sung why he drank. In-sung explained that he had been working part-time to test wine the day before, so he smelled a little. The manager underestimated In-sung's professionalism. After his recent failed performance, the manager immediately fired In-sung. That's why In-sung listened to his parents and gave up his dream to go to university. At the same time, he tried to find a job in this competitive city. That day, In-sung went to Korea's leading technology corporation, Silver Lining, to attend an interview. When In-sung received a phone call from his mother from the countryside, he immediately ran out to answer it. He showed his confidence and reassured his mother. However, when In-sung turned his back, he accidentally bumped into a girl. This incident caused her cup of coffee to spill all over his white shirt. In-sung was about to yell at her, but his eyes were drawn to her appearance. He said that there were only 20 minutes left until the interview. He asked what she was going to do to him. She asked him to go to the men's restroom, and she put a maintenance sign outside. She asked him to take off his shirt and gave her the dirty shirt. Then she calmly put on the men's shirt and walked out. When the interview started, In-sung introduced himself as being from the countryside. He was very diligent and hard-working. He showed off the apple that his father had grown. He took a bite out of it and said that in America there was Apple and in Korea there was Silver Lining. He really wanted to work at such a big company. However, the recruiter was discriminating against the tight shirt that a Faintfest In-sung was wearing. At the same time, he judged that In-sung's education and skills were not outstanding. In particular, In-sung had no experience. In-sung immediately argued that he had to have a job opportunity to gain experience. When the employer kept mentioning experience, In-sung argued and stood up, but because In-sung's shirt was too tight, the button flew off into the employer's mouth. The interview was a complete failure. Silver Lining is the #1 company in the technology field in Korea. The head of the company is CEO Sun Ju, a talented and hardworking person. Sun Ju built Silver Lining into a leading company in artificial intelligence by himself. In addition, Sun Ju is not also a single father raising a child because his wife passed away not long ago. In another development, In-sung was folding cardboard boxes to earn extra income. He felt that he might have to go back to his hometown. At this time, the landlady came and informed him that the lease was about to expire. In-sung asked to rent for another 2 years, but the landlady refused because she wanted the house back so that her son could learn to live independently. In-sung went to see the boy and told him that he was lucky to have parents living in Seoul. Then, In-sung struggled to find a new place to rent, but In-sung had to put down a deposit of 15 million won to sign the contract because the rent in Seoul was increasing day by day. The next day, In-sung woke up and went to a second-hand market. He chose to buy a gift to visit his parents in his hometown. He remembered that 2 years ago, on the Mid-Autumn Festival, he bought ham containing 92% pork, but his father told him that the village chief's eldest son had just bought Kobe beef. The following year, In-sung bought canned tuna containing 79% tuna, but his father was still indifferent. In-sung's father told the village chief's youngest son to take him to Japan to eat tuna sashimi. So this time, In-sung decided not to buy food. When In-sung's parents saw him return, they showed two clearly different expressions. In-sung shows off the AI speaker set he bought for his parents. He explains that with this gift, In-sung says his father doesn't need to get up to turn off the lights or the TV anymore. At first, his father scolds him for being lazy. His father says he doesn't understand the value of work. However, when the robot plays a song by In-sung's father's favorite singer, he sways to the beat and boasts that he is the head of that singer's fan club. Then the whole family starts dancing together. Despite some conflict, this is still a happy family in the peaceful countryside. In the evening, Sun Ju is driving to a campsite to meet his daughter. However, the communication signal between the two is suddenly lost. At the same time, a container truck drives in front of Sun Ju's car, and this truck deliberately prevents him from passing. Meanwhile, while In-sung is eating with his parents, he gently announces that his rent has increased. Immediately after that, In-sung's father asks him to move in with them. In-sung's father explained that there had been a typhoon this year, so his parents were planning to grow green grapes to improve their income. In-sung's father also emphasized emphasized that he was almost 30 years old and had no job yet, so In-sung should give up. In-sung felt upset because his father wanted him to give up. He replied that he had given up acting to live a normal life like his father wanted. His father explained that he just didn't want him to waste his youth on useless things. In-sung's father accidentally dropped a family photo in anger, breaking it. In-sung insisted that he was doing everything to succeed and wondered why his father was so against it. His mother then brought out snacks and beer to talk to and comfort him. She said that his father was sad like him. When he was young, his father also had strong dreams, but a hard life had made his father's dreams fade away. She emphasized that it was good to have dreams, but if In-sung failed, his father was afraid that he would not be able to get up again. At that time, even if they wanted to help him, they would not be able to do anything for him. At this time, at a cliff, a phone lit up. It automatically unlocked and posted a message on a hiking club forum. Sunju had now turned into a smartphone. Since the phone's battery was only 15%, the phone announced its location coordinates and sent a picture of where it was, along with a message asking others to come charge the battery. The people who saw the post thought it was a joke and did not believe it, although the phone replied to the comment and promised a big reward. The next morning, In-sung woke up and shed a stream of tears. He informed his mother that he had just had a beautiful dream, even though he knew it would never come true. It was a dream in which In-sung saw himself becoming a CEO. In-sung's father was angry and chased In-sung to beat him because In-sung is full of daydreams. In-sung ran up the hill and passed a sign warning of snakes. When In-sung reached the top, he remembered the days when his family used to happily eat together here. In-sung's father encouraged him to pursue his artistic path. When the beautiful memories disappeared, In-sung was bitten by a snake on the leg. He remembered the harsh words that people had said to him and began to accept his death at the age of 29. At the same time, he begged his parents to forgive their unfilial son. In-sung's screams were heard by the robot at home and activated the SOS mode. When In-sung was about to give up, he heard a voice coming from the phone. The phone announced that the battery was only 1% and warned not to call the police because they might be in cahoots with each other. Then the phone went dead. In-sung was taken to the ambulance. When In-sung regained consciousness, the doctor informed him that he had only fainted from shock from the snake bite. The doctor confirmed that the snake was not venomous. After the IV, he was able to leave. In-sung looked for his phone, but the nurse gave him another one and told him that the medical staff had found it next to him at the scene. However, In-sung was afraid of the talking phone. When he got home, he plugged in the phone and continued his job search. When he picked up the strange phone, it automatically opened a software and announced that the person talking was the CEO of Silver Lining, named Sunju. In-sung was skeptical and thought it was just a scam, but the phone showed a balance of 1 billion won in his bank account and promised to give him 100 million won if he helped it escape. At first, In-sung was skeptical, but after he entered the account number, he received a 100 million won transfer from Sunju in a moment. In-sung still did not completely trust him, so he offered 1 billion won and a job position at Silver Lining. Sunju immediately agreed and asked In-sung to replace him as CEO. At this time, In-sung received an email from Silver Lining Group informing him that he failed the interview. In-sung brought the phone into the house and compiled the information. In-sung realized that Sunju was attacked and his soul was trapped in the phone. Sunju was watching In-sung through the phone's lens. However, when In-sung searched for news, he found no information about the attack on the CEO of Silver Lining. In-sung suspected that this was a scam, so he decided to spend the 100 million he had just received to check. As expected, he bought something online with this money. In-sung panicked and ran outside. He couldn't believe that he had just owned 100 million won. However, In-sung becoming CEO was too much to imagine, so he had to play the leaf counting game to distinguish between dream and reality. The final result confirmed that this was reality, not a dream. In-sung decided to play the role of CEO to show off his super acting ability. Sunju asks In-sung to put his fingerprint on the contract and promises to send the signed copy via email. In-sung is still hesitant and asks why Sunju chose him if Sunju is really the CEO of Silver Lining. At this time, In-sung's parents open the door to the room. Sunju immediately turns on the music to ease the tension. In-sung tells his parents the good news that he got a job at Silver Lining. While In-sung's father is still unclear about the company, Sunju turns on the board to introduce the multinational scale of the company, where many excellent candidates want to work. In-sung's mother is very happy to see him find a job at such a big company. Meanwhile, a man goes up the hill to look for his phone and reports to a mysterious person that he can't find anything. This mysterious person is at Boomyoung Group. The next morning, In-sung's parents take In-sung back to Seoul to work. In-sung's father mumbles and scolds him for always using the phone, but In-sung's father didn't know that he was trying to transfer 50 million won to him. He explained that it was the deposit for the house and that the company provided accommodation for employees because it was a large international company. In Sung's father couldn't contain his joy and immediately ran to show it to the village chief. While In Sung was on the bus, he put on a headset to communicate with Sun Ju more easily. In Sung seemed worried because he was afraid that people in the game company wouldn't believe that he was the CEO of the company. Sun Ju reassured In Sung that he had sent an email to all employees and would make In Sung the CEO, so In Sung didn't need to worry. In Sung went to choose clothes to wear to work. He was surprised to see a pair of pants costing 530,000 won. The employee explained that it was the price of the belt and the whole set was only 5 million won. In Sung turned away, but Sun Ju suggested that he buy it right away using a prepaid card. Sun Ju sat from a distance and guided In Sung to try on expensive suits. Next, he chose branded glasses and watches. Then, In Sung carried a mountain of things into the VIP room of the hotel. However, Sun Ju prevented In Sung from showing off on social media because it would violate the terms of the contract. In Sung immediately jumped into the bathtub to experience the feeling that he had only seen in movies before. Then, the hotel staff pushed a whole food cart to serve him. In Sung gave him his card to pay, but the staff informed him that he had to wait until he checked out to pay at once. In Sung said that in Las Vegas, people usually pay right after finishing all the food. When In Sung finished all the food, he asked Sun Ju if he was hungry. Sun Ju replied that he was not hungry and did not have time to sleep because he had too much work to do. Sun Ju did not understand why Sun Ju could not remember the memories of a week before the accident. Sun Ju checked his schedule and remembered that he had a golf date with the Bumyoung family that day. According to the GPS, Sun Ju drove to the campsite to meet his daughter. However, he noticed something strange. To get to the place where In Sung found the phone, Sun Ju had to climb the mountain. There was no hiking trail there. Sun Ju looked for the car he drove that day, but found out that it had probably been taken to the junkyard. Sun Ju needed to know if he had actually gone to the golf course that day, and why he had to get out of the car halfway to climb the mountain. Now Sun Ju just wanted to quickly return to his position as CEO and be a father. After listening to the story, In Sung stroked the phone all over to comfort Sun Ju. Then, In Sung put the phone on the pillow so Sun Ju could sleep peacefully. When Sun Ju asked if In Sung was sure he wanted to sleep with a man, he put the phone on the table. Sun Ju also did not let In Sung turn off his phone because he would not be able to control the situation when the phone was turned off. The next morning, when In Sung stepped out of the elevator, Sun Ju asked him to take off his phone case. Sun Ju warned In Sung that if others saw him holding Sun Ju's phone, they would be suspicious. While In Sung was in the car, Sun Ju introduced the people he needed to pay attention to. Sun Ju first pointed out the vice president of Youngjun Group. Next was Mi Ran and her father, Mr. Bum, the founder of Boomyoung Car Group. Since Bum got sick, Mi Ran took over as president. Mi Ran wanted to complete the self-driving car project to defeat Young Joan and officially become president of Boomyoung Group. Mi Ran also cooperated with Silver Lining because she believed the company had the ability to create the brain for self-driving cars. However, Vice President Young Joan did not want the project to succeed because he also wanted the position of president of the group. Young Jin had installed a director from the corporation to control Sun Ju. This person specializes in oppressing subordinates and flattering superiors. When In Sung stepped out of the car, he saw all the employees bowing to him and felt a little nervous. In Sung remembered all the roles he had played, from kings to many other types of roles. He told himself that with that acting experience, becoming a CEO would not be too difficult. In Sung, the young CEO, boldly went up and told the director, who had failed him, not to be so formal next time. Director Kwok immediately asked all the employees to disperse. At this time, In Sung learned that the female secretary who spilled coffee on his shirt was Seyeon. When Seyeon got into the elevator with In Sung, she could no longer maintain her calm and cool demeanor. She realized that the young CEO was once a small candidate who had failed the interview. When Seyeon led In Sung to the office, he could not contain his joy and excitement. However, when In Sung talked to Director Kwok, he returned to his cold and serious demeanor as a CEO. Director Kwok tried to flatter In Sung and said that he realized that In Sung was not ordinary the first time they met. He apologized if he had been rude before. He also tried to exploit the relationship between In Sung and Sun Ju. In Sung answered ambiguously to let the matter go. Suddenly, Director Kwok asked In Sung if he intended to keep Seyeon. In Sung went to the restroom to check around. Then, In Sung asked Sun Ju if he should change his secretary. Sun Ju said that Seyeon was someone who never showed her emotions, so it was hard to know what she was thinking. Sun Ju commented that Seyeon knew all of his schedules. Therefore, the possibility of her being present at the last golf game was very high. Sun Ju emphasized that Seyeon could be the most reliable ally, but also the most dangerous opponent. Meanwhile, Seyeon was searching well in Sung's backpack. The CEO was walking and talking to Sun Ju, so he tripped over cleaning equipment and fell. An employee yelled at the female cleaner for leaving the cleaning cart cart in the wrong place. Sunju ordered In-sung to leave, but when he heard the employee yelling at her subordinate that this was the reason why she still had to work as a cleaner at this age, he suddenly remembered the contempt and humiliation he had felt before. In-sung turned around and asked the employee if he wanted to be fired. At the same time, In-sung emphasized that this was the reason why at this age he still only dared to bully those weaker than him. The employee saw that In-sung was new, so he asked him, "What are you daring to talk with me?" Seon immediately gave In-sung's business card and introduced In-sung as the new CEO of the company. In-sung apologized to Sunju because he just wanted to be proud for once in his life. In-sung then plugged his phone into the computer so Sunju could check if anyone had recently tried to hack into the Baro 4.0 software. Sunju explained that the company had developed software that could simulate another person's voice using just 1 hour of recording. Sunju emphasized that Silver Lining was also developing a customizable artificial intelligence assistant, AI, that could think, judge, and converse intelligently with humans. That was Baro 4.0. Sunju told In-sung not to go into further details because his ignorance was also an advantage. At that moment, Vice President Young Gun stormed into Miran's office and asked why Sunju was taking a leave of absence at such a crucial time. Young Gun emphasized that the new CEO was still young and inexperienced, so the board of directors would not let it go. Miran asserted that she was Bumyoung's largest shareholder, so she would allow the new CEO to work. She said that they just had to wait and see who would be stronger. At this time, In-sung draws a chart to analyze the subsidiaries of Bumyoung Group. In-sung realized that if Silver Lining's stock rose, Young Gun's electronics company would see a sharp decline. In-sung concluded that the two companies were destined to be rivals. Seon entered and gave In-sung a list of new secretary candidates that Director Kwak had nominated. In-sung angrily went to see Director Kwak, despite Sunju's efforts to stop him. In-sung asked Director Kwak why he gave the list of new secretaries to Seon. He emphasized that he did not need a list of replacement secretaries. He affirmed that when he was CEO, no employee should be treated so badly. At this time, a man rushed into the company and attacked the security guard. He only stopped when he saw Seon. Seon threw him a wad of money and asked him to write a certificate of repayment. However, the man replied that she still owed him 50 million in interest, so she could not escape him. In-sung persuaded Sunju to keep Seon as his personal secretary because he had a feeling that she was a good person. Sunju agreed and explained that if In-sung chose Director Kwak's list of secretaries, the possibility of trust is 0. But if In-sung chose Seon, the possibility of trust is 50%. Sunju concluded that Seon was the better choice. At the same time, Director Kwak called Young Gun to report that the company's new CEO was just a young boy, so there was nothing to worry about. Young Gun decided to let In-sung keep that position and wait for the right opportunity to take down Silver Lining and Miran at the same time. After work, In-sung drove to Sunju's house to wait for Mina and the nanny to come back from the supermarket. When Mina got out of the car, Sunju followed his daughter through the camera on his phone. After Mina and the nanny entered the house, Sunju ordered In-sung to drive and follow the butler, Shim-sung, because Sunju thought that the others might have bribed the butler to know the situation and easily take action. In-sung followed and saw Shim-sung enter a coffee shop where he met Seon again. Sunju immediately ordered In-sung to return to his house. Sunju used the software to open the main door for In-sung to enter and suggested he go to the office to get a set of documents. Sunju instructed In-sung to move and delete his image from the camera data. In-sung took off his shoes to sneak into the house. While In-sung was watching the nanny, he made a noise by dropping a shield from his iron armor. When In-sung sneaked into Sunju's office, he saw a model car. Sunju asked In-sung to go to the safe. Sunju read the password for In-sung to open it, but there were no files inside. The nanny turned on the light in the hallway. Sunju informed In-sung that she was going to her room, but heard a noise in the CEO's office, so she opened the door. In-sung sat motionless in the model car while Shim-sung turned on the room light. Immediately, In-sung lay down on the floor of the car and received a phone call. They both heard the ringing, but Ji-hai explained that it was her phone because Sunju had just given her a raise. Then they both went outside and turned off the lights. In-sung praised Sunju's quick and timely actions. However, In-sung received a text message from an unknown number asking for the phone back. As In-sung drove back, In-sung asked Sunju if he was really himself. Sunju confirmed that he was Sunju. In-sung wondered why Sunju was standing there, watching someone else take over his company if Sunju was really out there. Sunju explained that the call and text were both sent anonymously, so he would definitely find out who called. In-sung plugged the phone into the computer so Sunju could find out who the owner of the phone number was. But Sunju couldn't find anything because the computer was too outdated and couldn't install tracking software. Sunju explains that the software at the company company is not helpful because they all have proper copyrights. Sunju suggests that In-sung move to his house for convenience because staying in a hotel is easy to be spied on and eavesdropped on, and In-sung's current room is too shabby. In-sung is very excited that he will be moving to a magnificent palace. In-sung imagines his father becoming the boss and giving tips to Shim-sung, and Ji-hae has to leave to make room for his mother. The whole family lives happily and warmly in that magnificent house. When Hyun-ho, who used to share a room with In-sung, rings the doorbell, In-sung snaps out of that thought. In-sung immediately treats Hyun-ho to a celebratory meal because he just got a job. In-sung tells a story about a man who had an accident that left his soul trapped in a phone. Hyun-ho thinks it's a drama script, but it seems like there are people trapped in phones too. After In-sung returned home, Sunju asked him not to meet anyone privately until the end of the contract. At the same time, Sunju informed Ji-hae and Shim-sung that In-sung would be moving to live at his house, but Sunju emphasized that his daughter Mina had a hard time trusting others. The next day, In-sung played Snow White to play with Mina. He made her extremely happy and excited. Mina also said that In-sung was very special because no one her father knew had ever played with her. Also playing with Mina was Se-yeon, who played the role of the Frog Prince. Nanny Ji-hae also allowed In-sung to enter Sunju's office. Meanwhile, Shim-sung expressed her doubts about Se-yeon. Sunju had never let strangers stay with Mina before, but now he called Ji-hae and allowed In-sung to live at his house. After Ji-hae led In-sung into the office, she went out and called someone to inform them of the situation. In-sung connects the phone to the computer so Sunju can find out the owner of that strange phone number. Se-yeon receives a text message and goes to meet Mi-ran, the director of Bumyeong Group. Mi-ran wonders why Sunju chose In-sung as CEO. Mi-ran asks Se-yeon to keep an eye on In-sung. Se-yeon then goes to the hospital but doesn't see her mother. The nurse informs her that her mother has been moved to a VIP room. Se-yeon realizes that Mi-ran arranged this. Sunju finally wakes In-sung and tells him that he has found a way to track down the owner of the strange phone number. In-sung wonders if he will receive $1 billion immediately if he finds this person. In-sung recalls his bitter past life. When he worked as a waiter at a restaurant, he met his high school classmate. When he worked as a delivery man, he met his ex-girlfriend and her new lover. When he worked as a wedding photographer, he even helped her prepare her wedding photos for her wedding. Now everything has changed. If In-sung received $1 billion, he would immediately buy an apartment in Seoul. Sunju emphasized that it was hard to buy an apartment with $1 billion these days, but if In-sung wanted to accept it, he should listen to Sunju. Sunju explained that even if they couldn't find out who called, they could call the number back, but they had to wait until everyone was present. There will be a board meeting at the headquarters today. Sunju reminded that all the company's internal and external enemies would be present. Next, In-sung asked everyone to hand over their phones and write their names on the tray before the board meeting. Se-yeon wrote her name on a piece of paper and put the phone on the tray. While everyone was looking at the screen, Se-yeon talked to Sunju again. Sunju asked In-sung to call the unknown number to identify the owner. The phone did ring, but there was no name on it. Se-yeon was suspicious of In-sung's actions. Suddenly, Young-gun walked in. In-sung introduced himself, but In-sung only received a powerful handshake from Young-jun. However, Young-jun invited everyone to go out for tea together, causing everyone to rush to pick up their phones. In-sung did not have time to determine who was the owner of the ringing phone. At this moment, In-sung and Sunju both suspected Young-gun's appearance, as if he had come to save the owner of the phone. Next, Se-yeon appeared and announced that Young-jun wanted to meet In-sung. She also proceeded to destroy the paper that she had written her name on. In-sung took a deep breath to gather his courage and act in front of Young-jun. When Young-jun asked about In-sung's father's identity, he boldly introduced that his father was the owner of an orchard. Before coming here, he had done many part-time jobs. Hearing this, Young-jun criticized the will to progress of young people. He thought that they only wanted to do easy jobs. He emphasized that his son and his son's friends had to learn business from a young age to be able to sit in the position that In-sung had. They also had to go abroad alone to learn and grow. In-sung said that although he had no early education and no special background, he understood the difficulties that people like him would face, as well as the technology needed to serve daily life. So, In-sung wanted to show Young-gun what the future technology of humanity was. Then, In-sung walked out in a frustrated mood. Sunju reminded him that Young-jun was Silver Lining's business partner, so In-sung would have to meet Young-gun often. Right now, Young-gun was just teasing In-sung to test his ability. At this moment, Se-yeon blocked In-sung and asked him to get in the car. While In-sung was in the car, he received a call from his father, but he immediately took out his phone and hung up. Se-yeon wondered if In-sung had two phones. Why did he always wear headphones and hold his phone tightly, as if he was reporting everything to someone? Se-yeon then accelerates the car forward. Se-yeon continues to step on the gas and asks In-sung if he kidnapped Sunju or killed him. Se-yeon also shows a picture of Sunju's phone case, which Seyeon had found earlier when she searched In-sung's backpack. Meanwhile, Sunju unlocks the phone and informs In-sung that he knows the identity of the mysterious caller. Sunju dials the unknown number, causing Seyeon's phone to vibrate. Sunju speaks through the headset and asks In-sung to ask Seyeon if the unmarked phone in the conference room is hers and why she sent those messages from an unknown number. However, In-sung says that Seyeon could not have attacked him, as she had just risked her life to find him. The car rolls downhill. Moments later, In-sung tells Seyeon about Sunju being attacked and trapped in the phone. Seeing that Seyeon was still skeptical, Sunju used his real voice to confirm that he was somewhere between the CPU and GPU chip. When Seyeon still doubted that this was a fake voice, Sunju reminded her of the old promise between him and her. He affirmed that he would keep his promise. Meanwhile, Young-gun was happy because In-sung was just a loser. Young-jun commented that Sunju really had no eyes for people. Director Kwak also commented that sooner or later, Silver Lining and Boomyoung Automobile Company would collapse. At that time, Boomyoung Electronics Company would dominate everything. Young-jin promised to promote Director Kwak, and he ordered his subordinates to arrange a meeting to introduce Spo In-sung to the Boomyoung family. That night, the man who came to collect the debt, Seyeon, went to the hospital again, but he did not see her mother there. The next morning, In-sung was very happy when he saw Seyeon driving to pick him up. In-sung gives Seyeon the earphone so she can listen to Sunju's conversation and be on the same side. In-sung personally put on the headphones for Seyeon and tried to drive, but she wouldn't let him take her job. While they were in the car, Sunju told Seyeon that he didn't remember anything before and after the accident. He asked if she was with him. Seyeon explained that she wasn't. After he finished playing golf, she planned to go to the campsite with him, but she received a text message from the hospital saying that her mother was not okay. However, when she arrived at the hospital, her mother was fine. In-sung checked Seyeon's phone and saw that the location and call history matched what she said. He nodded and apologized to her. Seyeon also made Sunju bow and apologized to her. Seyeon explained that she had to use an unknown number because she didn't completely trust him. Sunju continued to say that according to the information he gathered, he was last seen at the golf course. He asked her if she saw anything unusual happening there. Seyeon said that Sunju went golfing that day with Mi-ran, the director, and Young-gun, the vice president. She added that Director Kwak, the director, invited her along at the time, but she didn't notice any other intentions. Sunju speculated that Director Kwak might want to separate Seyeon so that someone else could kill him. Sunju emphasized that although Director Kwak doesn't have much hair, his greed is bottomless. Sunju needed to know who Director Kwak met and what he did after the golf game that day. At the same time, a girl was secretly meeting a mysterious person. This girl was the nurse who returned Sunju's phone to In-sung. She also gave In-sung's medical records to this mysterious person for a stack of money. This stranger discovered that the phone number left on the records belonged to Sunju. The next day, In-sung and Seyeon showed up in a cool manner and planned to investigate Director Kwak. Since Director Kwak loves taking selfies, In-sung takes advantage of this to distract him and shows Seyeon his phone. However, it was too fast for her to see anything. The two then proceed to pry open Director Kwak's car door. But before they can do anything, the alarm rings loudly, leaving all three confused and not knowing how to get the dashcam on the car. Seyeon immediately comes up with a plan. While Director Kwak is driving to a company party, another car crashes into the back of his car. At first, Director Kwak intended to yell at him, but when he saw In-sung sitting in the car, he immediately became friendly and refused to let the insurance company come and check. Realizing that the car was still intact, Seyeon got into her car and reversed hard, causing serious damage to Director Kwak's car. She later explained that she intended to step forward but made a mistake. Director Kwak immediately called the insurance company and cried on the side of the road. In-sung suggested that they both take a taxi to the party to meet Young-jun on time. Meanwhile, Seyeon would stay behind to handle Director Kwak's car, so he handed over the car keys to her. When In-sung and Sunju entered the party, they saw a man with a sticker on his neck leaving. Shortly after, Director Kwak led In-sung inside, where many reporters were waiting. Young-jun announced that he had prepared a meeting to introduce the new CEO of Silver Lining to the media. Young-gun then invited In-sung to the chair. In-sung immediately put on his headphones. When Junsu saw many reporters below, he quickly realized that these reporters were all from the Boomyoung Group's side. They would intentionally ask difficult questions to embarrass In-sung on live broadcast. However, Sunju reassured him that no one could embarrass the CEO of Silver Lining. When a reporter asked why Silver Lining appointed a fresh graduate as CEO of a leading technology company, Sunju instructed In-sung on how to respond. He explained that this was a good tradition of Boomyoung. The founder of this group secretly sold his family's cow to move to Seoul and founded Boomyoung Food Company. Sunju emphasized that everyone had never seen anyone look down on others, just just because they had never attended high school. This showed that regardless of age or level, as long as you have the ability, you can still lead a large company. Sunju added that this was the opportunity he wanted In-sung to grasp. Immediately, the online community began to praise In-sung. When the reporter asked about the recent number of accidents caused by self-driving cars around the world, In-sung replied that self-driving cars can also cause accidents, but the rate of accidents caused by humans is much higher. In-sung further explained that self-driving cars will help prevent drunk driving or drowsiness. All technology takes time to perfect. In-sung took the reporter back to the time when people still rode horse-drawn carriages and emphasized that people must have been very scared when they saw the first cars moving at incredible speeds. In-sung also mentioned that the reporter had said that cars were too dangerous, so people still used horse-drawn carriages for safety. However, Silver Lining has continued to develop safety technology for everyone. Young-gun saw In-sung touching the headset and immediately grabbed it and asked why the CEO of Silver Lining was using a competitor's product. Young-gun then threw the headset into a glass of water and invited everyone to continue asking questions. Another reporter asked In-sung about how artificial intelligence would cause many human jobs to disappear and could become a threat to humanity. Immediately, In-sung remembered that he had asked Sunju why he named the company Silver Lining. Sunju explained that he was inspired by the movie Terminator. In-sung immediately gave a thumbs up and repeated a line from the movie. People will be afraid that one day artificial intelligence will become smarter and stronger than humans. Sunju emphasized that artificial intelligence will change the world and can dominate their planet. With the desire to become a ray of hope in the dark future, Sunju named the company Silver Lining. The successor to this mission is In-sung. Sunju emphasized that the safety of humanity always comes before all of Silver Lining's technology. A single reporter dared to clap to praise the young CEO. In-sung also fulfilled his role well, even without Sunju's direct support. At the same time, Miran was also following the developments of the press conference. At the end of the press conference, In-sung met Young-gun and said that thanks to him, In-sung had an impressive debut as CEO of Silver Lining. In-sung promised to return the favor, but because there were too many people around, Young-jin ignored him and walked away. Se-yeon then took the memory card from the dashcam and plugged it into her phone to review the data. Se-yeon discovered that on the night Sunju was attacked, Director Kwok drove to meet someone. That person was Sunju. Se-yeon wondered why Sunju had a private meeting with Director Kwok that night. Since In-sung's earphones were broken, he put the phone to his ear to talk to Sunju. Sunju complimented In-sung that he was very much like a CEO. Suddenly, In-sung received a call from his phone. The caller was Miran. Miran complimented In-sung for confiscating all the phones of the people attending the board meeting to avoid being recorded or eavesdrop. Miran then ordered her subordinates to confiscate In-sung's 2 phones so they could talk freely. Miran added that she wondered why Sunju chose In-sung. Miran thought that In-sung must have talked to Sunju often to perform well at the press conference, as if Sunju had prepared a script. Miran warned In-sung not to trust Sunju too much because he only cared about himself. After Miran left, Sunju asked In-sung about the content of the conversation. In-sung only replied that Miran only gave him some advice about work. Se-yeon also reported to Sunju that it turned out that Director Kwok had come to see into In-sung near the golf course that day. Sunju said that he did not remember anything about the time before and after the accident. Sunju affirmed that she was not close to Director Kwok. Se-yeon showed the video she had obtained as proof. When Sunju asked if she found anything else in Director Kwok's car, Se-yeon replied that she did not. However, Se-yeon saw Director Kwok's schedule that day. According to this schedule, after meeting Sunju, Director Kwok went to the Bumyoung Group's redevelopment area number 3. In-sung began to ponder and remembered Miran's warning. Don't trust Sunju too much. The next morning, In-sung picked up his phone, but it was burning hot because Sunju had been studying the video that Se-yeon provided all night. At this time, Mina heard her father's voice and entered the room. When In-sung said that it was his voice, Mina sadly walked out. To comfort Mina, In-sung performed a magic trick. Then he and she went out to play. In-sung continuously created all kinds of fun, making Mina extremely excited. When the two of them went out to the yard, In-sung picked up a flower of grass and performed the caterpillar game that he learned from his father. Meanwhile, at home, In-sung's father kept talking to the robot Barrow. He thought of it as his soulmate. He stroked the robot's fur to ease his loneliness. Suddenly, he saw a luxury car parked in front of his house. He thought it was the village chief's new car, but the car left when he got out. The driver had a wound on the back of his neck. Se-yeon drove to the redevelopment area number 3, where Director Kwok had gone after meeting Sunju the night before. Suddenly, another car drove up. The person sitting in the car was Miran. Miran explained that she came here to survey whether to build an apartment building or a dome stadium. Miran then asked Se-yeon if she knew that In-sung had Sunju's phone, so she came to see Miran. At this time, both of them saw that Younggun was also there and was discussing the construction of an art museum in the area. When Miran started talking to Younggun, Seon drove away. Meanwhile, Youngjin recounts the arduous journey that he and Miran's father went through to establish the Bumyoung Construction Company. The group then goes to the Bumyoung Electronics Company and the Bumyoung Automobile Company. Miran explains that the name Bumyoung is a combination of her father's and Youngjun's names. Miran asks Youngjun not to be proud of the past and to look to the future. Youngjun says that let's say Miran becomes the group's president, but when Miran gets married, Bumyoung will no longer belong to the O family, so he will protect Bumyoung to the end. Miran immediately replies that Younggen has a backward mindset. She then throws a handful of dirt in his face and coldly walks away. Meanwhile, In-sung puts Sunju on a shelf in the bathroom. Sunju promises to give him overtime pay because In-sung played with Mina all day. When In-sung takes the phone, he accidentally drops it in the toilet. In-sung tries to dry his phone, but he still can't contact Sunju. Shim-sung and the maid suggest that In-sung get his phone repaired. If he can't fix it, he should throw it away and buy a new one. In-sung is heartbroken. In-sung hugs Mina and tells her that he is truly sorry. The next morning, In-sung goes to a phone repair center. When In-sung walks in, he feels like he is entering an emergency room, and the phone is a patient that needs to be treated by a doctor immediately. Se-yeon also panics when she remembers that In-sung dropped the phone that he used to contact Sunju in the toilet. In-sung says that the toilet was clean at that time. The repair center says that they will call to report the situation tomorrow, but In-sung is still worried about whether Sunju will be okay after the phone was taken apart. Suddenly, Se-yeon's creditor jumps out in front of her car and warns her not to try to run away from him. At the same time, he asks where she found a loser boyfriend like In-sung. He reminds her that In-sung's girlfriend owes him 50 million won. He asks In-sung if he could help her pay her debt. Se-yeon asked him not to push her into a corner. She warned him that if she died, he would lose everything. When she saw that he was using force, she promised to pay him back. He then showed her a Loan Shark business card with his account number on it. He then slapped In-sung and gave them 2 days to pay the debt. He then left. Se-yeon went to the hospital to take care of her mother, who was in a vegetative state, but Se-yeon was unable to move her mother. Se-yeon felt helpless and remembered In-sung's promise to pay her if she joined his group. Sunju said that Se-yeon was capable and trustworthy. He believed that she was a warm and kind person, so she helped an unemployed person she didn't know. Se-yeon burst into tears and begged her mother to wake up. At this time, Hin-ho came to In-sung and said that he heard some shocking news today while trading stocks. Hin-ho asked if In-sung had become CEO of Silver Lining. Hin-ho asked In-sung for some confidential information about when they would launch their product. Hin-ho would borrow up all his credit and go all in. In-sung explained that he was only CEO by name. When they arrived at the beer shop, Hin-ho was worried that In-sung might be tricked and go to jail instead of someone else. In-sung sighed and confided in Hin-ho that there was really no hope for the two of them anymore. In-sung said that as long as he could get rich in an instant, he would be willing to commit a crime. Immediately, In-sung asked Hin-ho not to tell his parents about this. Hin-ho emphasized that In-sung had to do his job well because his friend had mortgaged his house and borrowed money to collect Silver Lining stocks. In-sung looked at his serious demeanor and imagined him as a priest, someone who could heal the broken souls of those who were selling their houses and losing everything because of buying Silver Lining stocks. In-sung knew that many people had fallen into similar situations. After that, In-sung had to face the media because his weak ability had caused the country's leading technology company to decline. In-sung's mother could not stand this shock either. In-sung's father was extremely angry. The only person who accompanied In-sung was his assistant Se-yeon. After the movie ended, the sponsor's thank you was heard. In-sung woke up with a start and realized the huge responsibility weighing on his shoulders. Houses, read books of many people, the food and clothing of thousands of employees. So In-sung decided to plunge into studying books and documents to become a successful leader himself. However, after a while, he collapsed on the table. At this time, Young-gun received a report from his subordinate that they had found a phone under Sunju's name and that In-sung had taken it for repair. Young-gun immediately ordered a trustworthy person to be sent in. The next day, In-sung received the repaired phone. In-sung anxiously waited for the results, but Sunju still did not say anything. Passers-by were also surprised when they heard about someone drowning in the toilet. Suddenly, the borrow software turned on and Sunju returned. In-sung happily sang and danced all over the streets. Sunju informed Se-yeon that he had discovered something strange in the dashcam video that night. When Sunju stopped his car in front of Director Kwok's car, another car passed by, but when Sunju continued driving, the car turned around. This proved that the other car had been tailing him. Now they had to check the license plate. In-sung happily announced that he knew the authorities. In-sung immediately went to his uncle who lived lived in the same village and was a police officer. The uncle was proud that In Sung had joined a big company and brought honor to the whole village. When In Sung was about to ask his uncle for help, he received news that the village chief's wife was missing. This person was anxiously worried about the matter. In Sung immediately called Seon to inform her of the impasse and asked her to stay calm. Seon immediately went to see the female employee of the golf course. Seon introduced herself as a loyal member and asked her to charge her phone. When the female employee was about to plug her phone into the charger, Seon showed her cable. The female employee confidently plugged it in. From there, Sunju easily connected to the computer. In Sung left and deliberately showed off the luxury car provided by the company. The police uncle saw a big scratch on the back of the car. In Sung said that a car hit his car and ran away. In Sung saw the license plate on the dash cam, but he didn't know how to find it. The uncle asked In Sung to go inside and check, but they found out that it was just a fake license plate that was not registered. Sunju said that he had hacked into the golf course's camera system and checked the data. On the 10th, the car with the license plate number 4885 entered the golf course a minute after Sunju's car and left right behind. In Sung drove to the mountain and picked up the phone. Sunju suggested that everyone climb up. In Sung even teased Seon. When everyone got there, In Sung insisted that if anyone wanted to harm him, they couldn't do it alone, because after taking him down, no one would be strong enough to carry him down from there. At this time, the two discovered that someone was coming. They thought the criminal had returned to the scene, but it was In Sung's parents. When In Sung got home, he explained that they were on a business trip recently and that she was his boss. When Seon was treated to a simple bibimbap by In Sung's parents, she remembered the old days. When Seon's mother was still healthy, she used unused food to make bibimbap. The two of them ate together and chatted happily. Seon's tears began to fall. After that, they both had to return to Seoul to work the next day. In Sung took the driving part to take Seon home. Meanwhile, In Sung's mother hatched a plot to know Seon's birthday to see if the two of them were compatible. While sitting in the car, Seon realized something interesting. The other car had followed Sunju before. Seon wondered if it was following their car now. Indeed, the car with the license plate number 4885 was running behind. Seon decided to stop the car in the parking lot to check. Sunju also said that this was the only chance to find the leader, so they couldn't miss it. The two of them got out of the car and approached the car that was following them. At this time, a young man came out and asked, "How are you, CEO?" He had secretly followed Sunju. Sangwon, who was also the team leader, was once taught a lesson by In Sung at the company. Sangwon also had a bandage on the back of his neck. Soon after, a group of thugs with tons approached. In Sung asked Seon to get in the car first. While In Sung distracted them, In Sung knocked down one of them. However, Seon was caught by one of them. In Sung was also severely attacked. When they were about to be escorted to the car, another car drove up. It was Seon's creditor who came to collect the debt. Seeing that, In Sung quickly gave the creditor an expensive watch. But another thug suddenly smashed his car, making the creditor angry and immediately attacked the thug to teach him a lesson. He put the watch on his hand, prepared to fight, and took down each person one by one. Another guy escorted Seon into the car, but when Seon saw Sangwon busy fighting the creditor, she opened the door to run after In Sung. But when In Sung saw that the creditor was gradually losing the initiative, he decided to go back to help. At this time, Sangwon stabbed the creditor. In Sung immediately ran over and hit Sangwon with a stick. Before Sangwon could fight back, he was hit by Seon's car and passed out. Then, In Sung drove the creditor and the secretary in the car. Hearing In Sung's thanks, the creditor asked him to send money for hospital fees and compensation for the damaged car. At the same time, the creditor revealed that during their previous meeting, he had secretly installed a tracking device on In Sung's car to prevent him from running away from his debt. Currently, Sangwon was caught lying in the trunk of the car. The creditor suggested a suitable place for In Sung to make the team leader reveal the mastermind. After the creditor received the 50 million won transfer from In Sung, he questioned Sangwon about who was behind it. Suddenly, Sangwon read out the name Sunju. In Sung went to confirm and took off his headphones. Sangwon explained that Sunju was very suspicious, so he had someone follow them. In Sung recalls Miran's warning. The captain demands, "Let me go, I'll take you to Sunju." Meanwhile, the phone keeps reminding him that Sunju is in Sung's pocket. At this time, the police knock on the door outside because they received a report of a fight causing a commotion at Boomyoung Hospital. Miran and Youngjun rush to the hospital. Then, Chairman Bum breathes his last breath while his younger brother and Miran cry. At this time, In Sung reports to a female police officer that Sangwon threatened him with a knife, so they got into a fight. Inspector Choi arrives and asks, "Why is a CEO like you involved with that loan shark?" At the same time, the news reports that the chairman of Boomyoung Group has passed away at the age of 75 due to a heart attack after a year and 3 months of fighting the disease. Sunju asks Seon to go to the company to find Sangwon's records. In Sung goes to attend Chairman Bum's funeral, but Sunju was worried that the other captain would escape because the person behind it would definitely influence the police to release Sangwon. However, the two already knew each other, so lying in wait here was useless. In Sung said that he knew a suitable person. In Sung immediately asked Hyun Ho to come to the police station. In Sung explained that he had to attend the funeral now. While inside there was a company spy under investigation, In Sung asked Hyun Ho to monitor him because he could be released at any time. At the same time, In Sung emphasized that Hyun Ho was also a shareholder of the company, so this was a way to protect his shares. In Sung also added that the spy was very dangerous, so Hyun Ho had to be careful. Then, In Sung went to attend Chairman Bum's funeral. Se-yeon studied Sangwon's file. At this time, Young-jin saw Miran taking the elevator to the upper floor, and she was calling someone. Meanwhile, In Sung received a phone call, so he went to the rooftop to meet Miran. She asks him about Baro 4.0 software. When In Sung replies that it is only a test version, Miran is unhappy that he kept the project a secret from her. Young-jun goes to the rooftop and suspects that the two are conspiring to plot evil while the group's chairman has just passed away. In Sung tries to tell about their conversation, but Miran changes the subject so he has to leave. Young-gun reminds him that his brother passed away before he could appoint a successor. Young-gun then mentions Miran's deceased younger brother. Both her younger brother and her father were supposed to lead Boomyoung, but they both passed away. Young-jun says that he will hold a shareholders meeting to choose a successor. Miran claims that she is the largest shareholder of the group, but Young-jun reminds her that was only true when Miran's father was alive. Now things are different. Meanwhile, Sangwon continues to make a mess in the interrogation room and claims that he was a victim of beatings. Suddenly, someone opened the door and walked in, making him happy. In Sung angrily asked Sunju about Baro 4.0 and why Miran was interested in this software. Sunju replied that it was better for In Sung not to know. Then In Sung angrily walked out to the car and called home to ask about his parents' health. In Sung seemed sad and did not know if the path he had chosen was right or not. His mother told him that there are many paths to choose in life. No matter which path he chose, he was curious about the paths he had not taken, so instead of regretting, he should continue on the path he had chosen. After hanging up, In Sung felt better. When In Sung got into the car, Sunju seemed sulky because he was not determined. Sunju reminded him that if In Sung did not want to do it, then that was fine. There were many people out there who wanted to receive Sunju's billion. In Sung replied that he really wanted to trust Sunju, so In Sung would continue on the path he had chosen. At this time, In Sung received a phone call from Hyun Ho, informing him that Sangwon had been released. Hyun Ho immediately followed Sangwon into the subway station. When Hyun Ho saw Sangwon enter a train, Hyun Ho also entered through another door. When In Sung arrived at the station, the train Sangwon had just taken had left. Sunju informed him that he had picked up Sangwon's phone signal and was still at the station. In Sung saw Sangwon and immediately ran after him. Sangwon threw In Sung to the ground and continued to run. Sangwon then crashed into a woman pushing her child. In Sung restrained Sangwon. However, the baby stroller rolled down the stairs. In Sung jumped down to hold the stroller, so Sangwon escaped. Sunju loudly blamed In Sung for only minding other people's business and losing Sangwon. Sunju thought In Sung was difficult to work with. In Sung explained that because he was minding other people's business, he helped Sunju. In Sung emphasized that if he repeated what just happened, he would do the same thing. In Sung advises Sunju to consider whether he wants to continue working with In Sung. Sunju reveals that the Baro 4.0 software is needed for self-driving cars to be complete. At the same time, Sunju affirms that he has never regretted his decision and will continue to trust In Sung. The next day, In Sung asks Sunju for permission to hire a bodyguard and asks that this person not be afraid of any tricks. While In Sung is still wondering who to hire, he sees the creditor beating a bodyguard outside. This guy came to take revenge because he was abandoned by Noor, In Sung, and had to endure prison for the past few days. In Sung invites him into the office and expresses his desire to hire him as a bodyguard. He emphasizes that he is good at fighting and is not afraid of doing illegal things like setting up a GPS. While Se-yeon strongly objects, Sunju agrees because he at least beat Sangwon, so he will not side with Sangwon. In Sung showed him the bodyguard contract and told him that they had nothing but money. He looked at the salary in the contract and offered to quadruple the price. In Sung haggled several times but saw that he was too determined, so In Sung finally agreed. The next day, In Sung and Se-yeon rang the doorbell of the house that Sangwon had listed in the company's records. They heard the TV inside, but no one opened the door. The new bodyguard showed off his skills by climbing the wall and breaking the window to ask the homeowner to open the door. When the door opened, they saw another couple living inside. The reason the homeowner had not opened the door before was because they were afraid that their lover would burn down the house. Then In Sung and Se-yeon went to see an anonymous phone sales salesman to ask him to help them find a phone number. When the guy chased them away, the bodyguard appeared and made the job easier. However, the store owner informed them that the phone number was not registered with him. Then they went to the university that Sang-won had attended to investigate his personal information. However, the female employee refused to reveal any information. In-sung pretended to act, but it did not work. The bodyguard immediately went straight to get a file to search for information, while Se-yeon helped him block the employee's view. When In-sung investigated, he realized that when he searched all the students in that interterm, there was no one with the same name as Sang-won. Thus, Sang-won's address, phone number, and academic record were all fake. When Se-yeon investigated the company, she realized that Sang-won was like a ghost who did not communicate with anyone. Sunju immediately investigated to find out who recruited an uneducated guy like him into the company. At this time, an employee called to inform In-sung that a customer came to see him. Immediately after, In-sung's parents brought boxes of apples into the company. They were very curious why the receptionist called them to the CEO's office. The two were worried that their son had done something wrong to be called. In-sung did not want his parents to know that he was a director, so he planned to hide. However, when the elevator opened, he ran into his parents. In-sung was about to reveal the truth, but Se-yeon immediately used tone of a boss to communicate. In-sung's parents immediately bowed to Se-yeon. They misunderstood that he worked in the same room as the director. In-sung led his parents to the office and used his body to cover his name. Se-yeon was about to make tea for In-sung's parents, but In-sung's father said that In-sung had to make tea himself. While they were sitting in the office, Director Kwok suddenly walked in and called the general director. When Se-yeon's identity was about to be revealed, In-sung immediately pulled Director Kwok out. In-sung asked Director Kwok to bring the box of apples to Young-jun immediately. When In-sung saw his parents off, his mother ran back to put some money in his pocket. The two then sat on the bus. They felt very sorry for their son who loved a girl with such a high position. In-sung's father also had tears in his eyes. They remembered walking around their son's modern office. Even though he was a secretary, the office had both air conditioning and heating, while the two of them could not avoid the harsh sunlight. In-sung felt more secure about his workplace. Se-yeon returned to work. She noticed that the smart lamp on the desk had been wrapped in tape by In-sung's father to keep it in place. Director Kwok brought the box of apples that In-sung had given to Young-gun. At first, Young-jin thought it was a bribe, but when Young-jin opened the box and saw only apples inside, he thought to himself that In-sung dared to tease him. That night, while In-sung and Se-yeon were in Sunju's office, the butler Shim-sung was also lurking outside. Mina entered the room and invited In-sung and Se-yeon to play hide-and-seek with her. In-sung immediately ran to find a place to hide. In-sung climbed into Mina's bed and covered herself with the blanket. In-sung faced Se-yeon, who was also lying inside. Se-yeon shyly went out but was caught by Mina. At this time, In-sung saw the calendar marking Mina's birthday and realized that Sunju had used this date as the password for his safe. The next day, In-sung invited everyone to go camping to celebrate Mina's birthday. In-sung explained to Mina that her father was busy, so her father asked him to organize her birthday. The new bodyguard also joined the picnic, but the nanny Ji-hye did not like the presence of this guy. When everyone arrived at the beach, In-sung used all his farming skills and experience from his part-time jobs to set up and prepare Mina's birthday. After Mina blew out the candles on the cake, everyone gathered together. Only the bodyguard Ma-pi was busy sitting alone eating instant noodles. Then Ma-pi borrowed the key to go to the car to sleep alone. Mi-ran received a report from her subordinate that after the chairman passed away, Young-jun had pulled a part of the board of directors to his side. If the group elected a new chairman, she would be at a great disadvantage. However, she decided to hold the board meeting as usual. Soon after, Se-yeon received a phone call from the person taking care of her mother at the hospital, informing her that the nurse said they had to move out of the VIP room next month. Se-yeon was very sad after hearing that, so she went to the beach for a walk and sat down to talk with the Thillings. In-sung confided that the first time he met Se-yeon, he knew she was a good person, because if it were someone else, they would leave and not help him like she did. When Se-yeon said that she might just be acting to appear good, In-sung opened up about his acting dream. In-sung said that when he was a child, a film crew came to his village to film a war movie. Because they needed a child actor, he was accidentally chosen. The first time In-sung stood in front of the camera, he acted extremely well and was fascinated by the atmosphere on set. When the movie started, In-sung's father drove 2 hours to see him appear for just 2 seconds. In-sung's village even hung a banner out of pride. When In-sung asked about Se-yeon's dream, she said that she hadn't dared to think about it for a long time. In-sung praised the rare smile that appeared on Se-yeon's face, making her embarrassed and leaving behind her headphones. Mina woke up but she couldn't see Se-yeon, so Mina went to look for Se-yeon. Meanwhile, In-sung set out for beer and snacks to drink with Sunju. However, Sunju didn't seem interested and said he would add a no drinking clause to the contract. At this time, Mina was still looking for everyone. She saw the earphones on the table. Sunju thanked In-sung for giving Mina a memorable birthday. Sunju said that he didn't know if he would have a chance to live with his daughter after catching the culprit. Suddenly, Mina called out, "Dad!" and burst into tears. Mina asked if it was really her dad. She blamed him for not coming to her birthday. She reminded him that every time his dad went on a business trip, he would tell her before coming back. But this time, he didn't say anything. Mina was worried that her dad would find her annoying and want to abandon her. He immediately comforted her and promised that he would never abandon her. He told his daughter not to cry anymore. Seon hugged Mina to comfort her. Seeing that scene, In-sung was even more determined to find the culprit soon. Miran meets with reporters to announce that Bumyoung Group will reserve 1,000 square meters in the 3rd redevelopment area. They will develop a sports facility for the community. Meanwhile, Seon and In-sung continue to research all information related to Sangwon's name to find more clues. Suddenly, Sunju finds a photo showing Sangwon appearing at a climbing club organized by the company. At the same time, Director Kwok comes to open the office door and informs In-sung that it's time to leave. The two wait in In-sung's car, and Ma-pi immediately gets in the driver's seat. When he steps on the gas to drive the car, the two people sitting in the back have to switch seats. Ma-pi does not hesitate to show his displeasure with the drivers who dare to block his way. Then Seon goes to see the president of the climbing club to ask about Sangwon. He says that Sangwon sometimes comes to club activities, but Sangwon does not talk to anyone. In-sung attends the groundbreaking ceremony for the Bumyoung Group's park and sits next to Young Gun. Miran steps up to the podium and introduces the project to build the largest dome stadium in Korea. This is her father's will. Miran also announces another wish of the late chairman Bum. At the same time, Miran invites In-sung to step up and stand next to her. She introduces the self-driving car developed by Bumyoung Automobile Company and Silver Lining. They will launch it on National Day. Then, Miran holds In-sung's hand. To show her determination, Director Kwok realizes that Miran is speeding up the launch of the self-driving car to gain an advantage in the board meeting at the end of the year. However, Youngjun thinks that if Sunju is not present, the artificial intelligence software that controls the self-driving car, Boro 4.0, will not be able to be born. Miran then shakes hands with the group's leaders and tells Young-gun that she will definitely be the chairman at the upcoming shareholders meeting. Seon studies Sangwon's schedule at the climbing club, but she doesn't understand his purpose in joining the club. Sunju looks at the schedule and realizes that the weeks Sangwon appears coincide with the test results of the Boro 4.0 software. Maybe they just pretended to climb the mountain to meet each other. As she continues to study the schedule, Seon realizes that on the days Sangwon joined the club, Director Kwok was there. In-sung immediately receives a notification from Seon and invites Director Kwok to eat cold noodles. At the restaurant, In-sung asks Director Kwok if he knows where Sangwon is. Sangwon has been absent without leave for the past few days, and it seems that he and Director Kwok both went to the climbing club on the same day. Director Kwok, with his neat and calm demeanor, explained that the company had so many employees that he couldn't possibly know everyone. Director Kwok also said that he went hiking to relieve his loneliness because his family was overseas. Although Director Kwok occasionally went to the club, he insisted that In-sung had no evidence to suspect him. Meanwhile, Sangwon was being treated for his injuries at a hospital. He was extremely dissatisfied because he was only given meager meals. But Sangwon still ate like he was starving in front of the nurse. Director Kwok called his wife and child in the US. He confidently told his daughter to spend freely because he was on the board of directors of Bumyoung. In-sung found it difficult to force Director Kwok to confess everything. Ma-pi suggested hanging him up and interrogating him to find out who was behind it. But Seon reminded him that it was the actions of a thug and could lead to legal trouble. Feeling the atmosphere was too tense, In-sung invited everyone to eat together to strengthen their team spirit. However, when they arrived at the restaurant, Seon and Ma-pi continued to argue, causing Seon to leave. When In-sung ran after Seon, she emphasized that she was not someone who easily forgot and forgave. Then Ma-pi also walked out. In-sung went inside and expressed to Sunju about the difficulty in dealing with his employees. A food cart was brought out. In-sung immediately called Hyunho to help him consume the food that was about to be wasted. While they ate together, In-sung confided in Hyunho about his hardships as a CEO. His superiors always brought him out to blame, and his employees fought and argued. Suddenly, In-sung received a text message. He had to count each number because he was afraid of getting dizzy. That was the first month's salary In-sung received for the CEO position. The two people who used to live at the bottom of society now felt that there were people in the world who received monthly salaries equal to the fortunes of others. They used to wait every minute to receive the phone call and promised to buy a set of premium beef for their parents when they received their salary. salaries. When they received their salaries, they went to buy beef, but before they could check in, messages kept coming in about deducting their living expenses. In the end, they had to reluctantly return the 2 portions of beef under the discriminatory eyes of the staff. Both boys stood up at the same time. They were determined to go to the mall tomorrow to buy gifts to show their gratitude to their parents. In-sung sat on the bus back home. He passed by a fruit stall. At that moment, In-sung got off. Seyeon was checking the expenses to take care of her mother. The nurse asked Seyeon to increase her salary. Seyeon looked at the small balance of her account and felt extremely helpless. In-sung hugged a watermelon and went into the hospital room to visit Seyeon's mother. He gently apologizes for forcing her to reconcile with someone she didn't want to. Seyeon says that she once wanted to be a hotel manager. She was accepted into the hotel, but her mother had a stroke. Her mother lost consciousness and became a vegetable, so she was forced to find a job with a higher salary. When Seyeon saw the Silver Lining secretary recruitment notice, she wanted to take her mother to a luxury hotel for a vacation, but Seyeon's mother couldn't get out of the hospital bed. In-sung's heart stopped for a moment when he heard her ask about her dream at the campsite. A subordinate reported to Young-jun about the launch of self-driving cars. Young-jun realized that if things continued like this, Mi-ran would take his chairmanship from him, so Young-jun decided to meet Park Hwa himself. In-sung and Hunho confidently went to buy premium beef. They each bought a portion as a gift. In-sung's first month's salary paid for everything. In-sung sees a woman's shirt and has an idea. He walks into a clothing store and confidently buys it without looking at price. He meets Seyeon and asks about the price to buy her love, but this is just his imagination. When he looks at the shirt, the bodyguard follows In-sung to protect him. The bodyguard tries on a watch, but instead of wearing it on his wrist, he wears it on his hand. In-sung goes home in the evening and asks the bodyguard's real name. The bodyguard refuses to reveal it. The housekeeper explains that the bodyguard's name is Ma-pi. Ma-pi used to be a promising boxer for the national youth team, but is now a loan shark with many criminal records. Ma-pi warns the housekeeper not to speak carelessly, or he will have 4 more criminal records. Ma-pi blows a bubblegum. Mina runs over, but Ma-pi grabs her cake. Mina tells the nanny that she is not afraid of him, because there was a classmate who often snatched her snacks, but the teacher said that he only liked her, so he did that. The next day, In-sung bought Seyeon a suit for his first salary after becoming a director. Sunju asked In-sung to attend a virtual reality conference in his place. In-sung asked to stop by his house for a while because it was on the way. When In-sung arrived, he told Ma-pi that he had bought a gift for Ma-pi. Before that, In-sung had seen Ma-pi using a watch for many different purposes, so In-sung bought Ma-pi a very durable watch. In-sung gave his mother a new suit and a set of premium beef. In-sung also gave his father a pair of virtual reality glasses. In-sung's father put on the glasses and saw his idol singer clearly in the mirror, making him unable to stand still. It was the first time In-sung's father saw his idol up close. He also saw the male singer playing the piano on a tractor. He realized that his friends did not believe him, so he put on the tell glasses. They also saw the singer. In-sung explained to his mother that it was a virtual reality glasses made by his company. He spoke like when he video called her and used the flower effect and the dog. The world that In-sung's father saw was created with graphics. At this time, Sunju rang the phone to ask to talk to In-sung. Sunju said that thanks to In-sung giving his father the virtual reality glasses, his father thought of a way to corner Director Hwa. In-sung brought Sunju back to the office and connected to the computer so that he could create his own virtual reality data. Immediately after that, In-sung asked Director Hwa to eat to clear up previous misunderstanding. After the meal, In-sung asked Director Hwa to have a cup of coffee with him. When they arrived, all the elevators were under maintenance, so In-sung suggested that Director Kwok walk upstairs. The elevator maintenance man was Ma-pi. Despite Director Kwok's old body, he still walked up to the 21st floor. However, there were still 15 floors left to reach the intended destination. When they reached the 36th floor, Seyeon locked the elevator door. In-sung gently said that he would have coffee next time and suggested that Director Kwok walk down. Seyeon quickly entered the elevator to the ground and greeted them as they got into the car. Sunju suggested that Seyeon turn on the massage mode to help Director Kwok rest. Director Kwok was already falling asleep while Seyeon was about to take action. However, Director Kwok woke up and suggested that the music be turned on. He then fell into a deep sleep. When Director Kwok woke up, he found himself in the parking lot. He saw Sunju sitting in the front seat. Sunju asked Kwok why he did that to me at the golf course. Director Kwok trembled and explained that he was just following orders. Suddenly, Director Kwok looked in the car mirror and saw that his glasses had been swapped. He could no longer see anything, but when he put his glasses on, Sunju reappeared. In-sung got into the car and took back the phone that was ready and turned on the recording mode. In-sung asked Director Kwok who was behind the attack on Sunju, because In-sung knew that Director Kwok did not have the courage to do so. Director Kwok pretended not to know anything and explained that Sunju was resting casting due to health problems. In Sung asked director Kwok if he thought the others would protect him to the end or would abandon him if he was no longer valuable. Director Kwok used a public phone to call the mysterious leader and reported that it seemed that In Sung and Se-yeon knew everything. He would not believe them, so he would leave on his own. Sunju assured In Sung and Se-yeon that Director Kwok took his safety very seriously. When he was pushed into a corner, he would change sides regardless to live. At that moment, In Sung received a phone call from Young-jun. Young-jun asked In Sung to come see him. When In Sung arrived, Young-jun explained that he had spent his whole life building Boomyong. However, Mi-ran announced the launch of a self-driving car to steal Boomyong from him. Young-jun thought that this was just a media stunt. Because Sunju was not present, it was definitely impossible. Young-gun asked In Sung to think carefully and consider which side to stand on, because otherwise, his safety would not be guaranteed. Director Kwok called his wife in the US to ask about the situation between the two. His voice was full of sadness, showing his helplessness and anxiety. Director Kwok then drove to the mental hospital where Sang-won was staying. When Director Kwok opened the door of the room, he found Sang-won tied to the bed and had stopped breathing. Director Kwok panicked and drove away, crying bitterly. After a while, he stopped the car and sat down. He suddenly thought of something and got out of the car. Someone was following him. Director Kwok used a public phone to call someone and told Sunju about Young-gun's threat. Suddenly, In Sung received a call from Director Kwok asking them to meet to reveal the truth about that night. Director Kwok insisted that In Sung go alone. As Director Kwok drove away, a truck passed by and blocked his car. He tried to call the police, but his phone had no signal. In Sung arrived at the meeting point and saw smoke billowing from Director Kwok's car. Director Kwok was lying inside. Several police cars arrived. Inspector Choi checked and found that Director Kwok's pulse had stopped. The police handcuffed In Sung and escorted him to the car. Se-yeon tried to go out to help In Sung, but Ma-pi stopped her. He explained that if they saw her there, it would be more trouble. Sunju also asked Se-yeon to go back to the office because In Sung needed help outside. At the police station, In Sung confirmed that Director Kwok did not take his own life, but someone else did it and set it all up. However, Inspector Choi suspected that In Sung was the culprit. He thought that Director Kwok died unexpectedly. At the same time, the sales department head's whereabouts were unknown. Sunju also disappeared. In Sung appeared as the new general director. A lawyer appeared, making Inspector Choi uncomfortable. Thanks to the lawyer's bail, In Sung was released, but immediately, In Sung was handed over to Young-jun, who was sitting in the car. Young-jun promised to arrange everything properly because he had ordered Boomyong's legal team. Young-jun warned In Sung that if he did not stand by his side, his safety would not be guaranteed. Young-jun also asked In Sung to tell the person who promoted him to the position of general director to stop. Then Young-jun would stop too. In Sung went back to the company in a daze and shock. It was the first time In Sung witnessed someone die right in front of him. Sunju explains that Director Kwok's body might have been moved to the meeting point to intentionally blame blind In Sung. This makes In Sung worried. In Sung is afraid that the next victim will be herself or her family. Sunju immediately raises the reward to 2 billion won if In Sung continues to play the CEO, but In Sung still decides to leave. On the way home, In Sung sees Director Kwok's happy family photo being cleaned up. Ma-pi notices it, proves that In Sung is leaving his job. In the evening, Se-yeon goes to the hospital room to visit her mother. Se-yeon meets Mi-ran, who is already sitting there. Mi-ran implies that Se-yeon wants to give her confidential information at Silver Lining. Mi-ran leaves a USB and informs that Se-yeon's mother will continue to stay here. Then Mi-ran leaves. In Sung decides to quit his job to go back to his hometown to pick apples. His parents keep asking him why he quit his job. When In Sung heard his father say that he was a person without will and gave up when faced with difficulties, he loudly retorted and angrily left. At the company, Director Kim loudly requested to meet In Sung to resolve work. Se-yeon explained that In Sung was taking a few days off to calm down after the sudden death of Director Kwok. Se-yeon realized that In Sung would have difficulty returning to the position of CEO while the launch date of Barrow 4.0 was approaching. Sunju suggested that Se-yeon post a job for a new CEO position. Se-yeon accessed Sunju's computer but hesitated when looking at the Barrow 4.0 software. That night, In Sung's mother treated In Sung to grilled beef to talk. The two consumed a fair amount of beer. His mother gently exploited his secret feelings. He told a wild story about finding a phone on the mountain which contained the soul of a CEO. That person asked him to take over the position of CEO. His mother laughed heartily. After hearing this, at this time, the nanny Heiji took her bag and went went out to call someone. The housekeeper Shim Sung watched this action. The next morning, In Sung woke up and remembered the story of last night, so he ran to see his mother to explain. His mother said that she drank too much last night and didn't remember anything. In Sung felt relieved when his mother said that, but his parents were still worried. They thought that he was too exhausted and imagined being locked in the phone. His mother went to a shaman to help him get rid of his confusion. The shaman said that In Sung was being haunted by a ghost because the more successful people are, the more bad luck they encounter. In Sung's father seemed to understand him. In Sung's father gently asked if this time he quit his job, he would encounter the same thing as when he was a theater actor. His father said that he had gone to see him perform at the theater without his mother's permission and accidentally heard an argument between his son and the theater manager. At that time, In Sung confirmed that he saw director Han acting inappropriately towards his co-star at a party. The manager suggested that he let it go so that he could continue acting because director Han knew the film and television industry. In Sung decided to withdraw so that he would not be silent about his wrongdoings. In Sung's father knew that he had participated in many other castings, but they all shook their heads because they were afraid of going against director Han's wishes. In Sung's father told him that if he lived upright like that, he would be at a disadvantage, but he did the right thing. His father was proud of him. Even though they lived in poverty, they raised him to be a good person. In Sung's father apologized for not being able to help In Sung whenever In Sung stumbled. At home, Mina was extremely sad because In Sung did not come to visit. Ma Pi returned the car key to Seon because he thought that if In Sung was no longer there, he would also be fired. Seon asked Ma Pi to still be there to work tomorrow morning. Mina runs to Seon and asks if In Sung also abandoned her like her father. Mina goes to the tent and sits sadly alone. Ma Pi sees this scene and feels sorry for her. In Sung goes to throw out the trash and is happy when he hears his father say he is proud of him. When In Sung sees a plastic bottle, he remembers Mina. He thinks about the family sports day her school will hold tomorrow. The next morning, Mina is determined to stay in her room and refuses to go to school. In Sung appears right in front of Mina, so Mina agrees to participate in the sports day. In Sung explains that Mina's father asked In Sung to come instead. In Sung and Seon act as the parents. They join Mina in competitions and bring her a lot of joy. In Sung informs Sunju that he will return to his position as CEO because if he runs away, the bad guys will still live well and he will have to live in torment for the rest of his life. Sunju offers a new contract with a salary of up to 2 billion won. In Sung said he didn't come back for money. At first, he did it for money, but now he has many other reasons to continue. Sunju thanks In Sung for accompanying her. In Sung puts on Sunju the medals that Mina's family won. Seon goes out and asks why In Sung accepted the danger to stay. Seon recounts Sunju's words. When Seon witnessed a girl trying on virtual reality glasses, she hugged her dead mother and even talked to her mother. That scene filled Seon with the desire to help. Sunju asks Seon to provide pictures and videos with her mother's voice so he can buy her mother's human room. Even though it's fake, she wants to hear her mother's last goodbye. Even though her mother is still alive, Youngjun receives a report that In Sung has returned to the CEO position. So Youngjun immediately comes up with a plan to eliminate In Sung. Meanwhile, In Sung's team researches to find the person who attacked Director Kwak. In Sung said that after Director Kwak called to make an appointment, he called back, but In Sung did not hear anything. Seon suspected that someone was following Director Kwak and called back to check. Seon and Ma Pi went to the public phone booth where Director Kwak called. Ma Pi discovered that the security camera was pointed at phone booth, so he immediately went into the cafe and asked the female employee to show him the CCTV data. The female employee said it was just a fake to scare criminals. Ma Pi went outside and saw a traveling theater troupe performing. He felt like he had heard this singing before, so he immediately went back to the office to look for it. Suddenly, Sunju announced that he had found a video that the troupe had filmed the night Director Kwak died. In the video, a man in a suit entered the public phone booth when Director Kwak left. Seon recognized this as Younggun's driver, Weejae. The night before, when Director Kwak saw Sangwon had died, he went to see driver Weejae to ask why Weejae attacked Sangwon. Weejae just told him to follow instructions. Weejae advised Director Kwak to be obedient so that this would not happen to him. After Director Kwak called In Sung, Weejae stood above to observe. Weejae pressed the redial button to check Director Kwak had called anyone. This action was recorded by the traveling theater troupe. Weejae called the mysterious leader to report the situation. Youngjun also told Weejae that during the press conference, he saw In Sung wearing headphones as if someone was reading the script to him. In Sung stood outside the convenience store to watch Weejae. After a while, Weejae realized that someone was following him, so he turned around to face him. In Sung showed him the video showing Weejae following Director Kwak before he died. In Sung threatened Weejae that he would give it to the police. Wei was about to take the video, but Ma Pi peered behind him. Weijie realized he couldn't fight the two, so he ran away. When Weijie tripped and fell, he pulled out a gun and threatened. Weijie saw In-sung still talking to someone on the phone, so he took the phone from In-sung's hand before leaving. Se-yeon was worried when she knew Sun-ju was in Weijie's hands. In-sung reassured Se-yeon that this was intentional. In-sung explained that no matter where Weijie went or who he talked to, all his actions were monitored. Sun-ju had previously decided to follow Weijie despite the danger, because if they caught Weijie, he would suffer the same fate as Sang-won and director Kwa. Thanks to that, In-sung heard and saw with his own eyes what the people who harmed Sun-ju were saying and doing. Se-yeon suggested calling the police immediately. In-sung stopped him and said that the police were also being controlled by Boomyoung. He reassures her that Sun-ju's location is being monitored, so they will soon find out who ordered Weijie. Se-yeon goes home and listens to what Sun-ju's phone is picking up. She hears gunshots and screams. At first, she thinks it's a game, but Weijie is actually playing a game next to Sun-ju. Se-yeon worries that if the phone runs out of battery, they will lose their location. When Weijie tries to guess password, a file called Underground Forces is sent. Curious, he plugs in his phone to wait for it to be unlocked. The next day, In-sung rushes to the company. Se-yeon ties director Kim's tie and asks Spimer In-sung to approve the electronic project. In-sung opens a bunch of emails, but he doesn't know which project is from Director Kim. Director Kim explains that it is a project related to eliminating the virtual reality glasses division. The venture capital fund in Singapore failed, so he has to decide whether to eliminate the division or ask Boomyoung to increase the budget, and he insisted that the decision had to be made at the meeting tomorrow. In-sung panicked when he realized that his decision would affect the work of over 400 employees. In-sung immediately called Sun-ju for her opinion. At this moment, Weijie walked in, so Sun-ju hung up. Weijie noticed that the phone had just turned on when no one was around, so he took it to a smartphone expert. This person was also Weijie's junior in the army. This person claimed that any phone could be unlocked, but this phone had special security software installed, making it almost impossible to break into. He explained that someone seemed to be constantly changing the password, making it extremely difficult to access. Weijie received a call from Young-gun. In-sung and Se-yeon set off because Sun-ju asked them to go to the Be Quiet hotel. Weijie took Young-gun to the hotel. Then they entered a private room with the door closed. In-sung and Se-yeon listened to the conversation from outside. When Weijie was about to report force, In-sung's phone, Young-jun received a text message and interrupted. Se-yeon recognized the text message before Young-jun interrupted. Weijie then grabbed Ma Pi's phone and asked him if he was sending a secret message to anyone to check if they were being followed. Se-yeon intervened and checked the phone. They found out that the person Ma Pi was texting was Mina. The night before, when Mina was sitting alone and sad, Ma Pi made a statue to sit next to her to comfort her. After Ma Pi was suspected, he got angry and left his work position. In-sung and Se-yeon felt guilty for suspecting the bodyguard. In-sung went to the car and called Ma Pi into the house. Then In-sung personally cooked a meal to treat Ma Pi to apologize. Ma Pi asked about Mina. In-sung explained that her mother had passed away early. Nanny Ji-hee stepped out to help In-sung fix the bland soup. In-sung was surprised by her super cooking skills. When Ji-hee sees that Ma Pi can't eat spicy food, she gives him an egg to make up for it. After a while, In-sung asks Ma Pi if he has saved up money to own a building. A look of sadness appears on his face. He returns to his residence and reminisces about past. In-sung emphasized that many people want to buy online. In the national selection competition, the coach advised him not to push himself too hard because he was still young, but Ma Pi sees the coach receiving a deposit from the father of his opponent, who will compete with him the next day. During the match, Ma Pi uses all his strength and punches his opponent, breaking his dental pad. Ma Pi hates the behavior of the coach, who first brought him up from the bottom of society, but then used him as a tool to make money. Meanwhile, Inspector Choi from the police station enters the secret room to meet Young Jen. The next day, In-sung attends a meeting to discuss whether to abandon the company's virtual reality glasses business. In-sung doesn't know which decision is right, and he doesn't know what direction Sun-ju will take. Se-yeon explains that VR glasses have great features, but the company hasn't found a suitable business model yet, so this segment is losing heavily. While preparing to go to the meeting room, In-sung receives a phone call. At first, In-sung thinks it's Sun-ju, but it's actually his mother. She asked him to help her choose a TV because her father broke it at home. When In-sung suggests that his mother go to the store herself to choose, she says she doesn't know anything about electronics. This reminder enlightens In-sung's mind and makes him feel more confident before the meeting. When director Kim suggests eliminating the VR glasses segment to cut losses, In-sung objects and wants to expand the business model. This decision surprises all senior managers. He explains that times have changed. Offline sales in many industries have dropped sharply, while online sales have skyrocketed. In-sung emphasized that many people want to buy online, but have difficulty not being able to see the product in person. The company's VR glasses will overcome this barrier. It allows users to feel the difference in size between a 65-inch and a 75-inch TV, or between large and small SUVs, no matter where they are. He believes that if commercialized successfully, VR glasses will become an essential product that everyone wants to own. In Sung also said that investors may be hesitant to continue investing, but every beginning is difficult. He is confident that VR glasses will become a successful project that will benefit both Silver Lining and Boomyoung. At the same time, it will promote Industry 4.0. Mi-ran applauded and planned to promote cooperation between Silver Lining and Boomyoung subsidiaries. At the end of the meeting, Director Kim bowed to In-sung as a sign of admiration. While Se-yeon thought that Sunju might have called In-sung before the meeting to give instructions, Sunju called In-sung while Wee-jae was taking a shower and informed him that he had found the confidential documents that Wee-jae had held. Inspector Choi then went to see Deputy Young-jun. Inspector Choi said that he saw In-sung giving the confidential documents to Young-jun for safekeeping. Inspector Choi suggested that they sneak into Young-jun's office to find the documents. He emphasized that In-sung needed to attract everyone's attention so that Se-yeon and Ma-pi could find the documents. Inspector Choi also said that Young-gun's office had no cameras because he had many secrets to hide. The next day, In-sung decided to go straight to Boomyoung Group headquarters and barged into the meeting chaired by Young-gun. In-sung announced that he came to open a meeting called Who Killed Director Kwak? In-sung claims that someone attacked Director Kwak and tried to make him a suspect. In-sung says that the culprit is in the conference room. When some directors tried to go out and call security, all the doors were locked from the outside. Se-yeon informed the staff that Young-gun was locked in the conference room. Se-yeon explained that the purpose was to create conditions for Ma-pi to enter Se-yeon's room. Inside the conference room, the senior managers grabbed Se-yeon to prevent her from going out. In-sung tried to buy as much time as possible for Se-yeon and Ma-pi to search Young-jun's room. Meanwhile, the managers also caught Tae In-sung and took the key, using which they opened the conference room door. In-sung called Se-yeon, but she said that they still couldn't find the documents. He immediately tried to buy more time. Right after In-sung took out the lighter, the fire alarm started to ring. At the same time, water was splashing all over the room. In the chaos, Ma-pi discovered a secret door. Inside contains confidential documents. When Young-jin entered the room, the two of them immediately entered this door. Young-jin noticed that his globe had been moved, so he asked the staff how someone had sneaked into the room. Se-yeon struggled to find a way out. She saw Ma-pi climbing up the ventilation pipe to get out. She climbed up too, but slipped. Luckily, Ma-pi pulled her up in time. When Young-jin entered the bathroom, Se-yeon crawled up and gently closed the ventilation pipe. Young-jin ordered Wee-jae to investigate immediately because In-sung's unusual behavior today made him. Meanwhile, In-sung's two teammates also came out unharmed and brought back the confidential documents they had just obtained. In-sung and Se-yeon looked through the documents and realized that it was the Barrow 4.0 test results report. It listed dangerous errors that the self-driving cars were encountering. They speculated that Inspector Choi might have found the documents in Director Kwak's car, or this is what Director Kwak tried to give In-sung earlier. At the same time, Wee-jae was driving to another location and still had the phone he stole from In-sung. Sunju immediately called In-sung and informed him that Wee-jae had acted and turned on the GPS. Sunju asked In-sung to follow. Young-jun asked Mi-ran to come to dinner. He asked her if she was the one who killed Director Kwak and Sunju. Mi-ran denied and insisted that Sunju was still alive. If not, Young-gun would post an obituary and announce that the self-driving car project had failed. Young-jun emphasized that the project had already failed long ago, but Director Kwak had the Barrow 4.0 test report. Young-jun knew Mi-ran was ambitious. He warned her to stop before he made a move. Mi-ran still insisted that the self-driving car would be launched on National Day. Her attitude was full of defiance. Before that, Mi-ran secretly met with Director Kwak to entice him to work for her instead of being loyal to Young-gun. At the same time, Wee-jae drove into a mental hospital. Wee-jae went into a hospital room and opened Sang-won's body. In-sung saw this scene and decided to go into another hospital room to visit a patient lying on the bed. In-sung was surprised to realize that person was Sunju. Immediately, In-sung asked Ma-pi to speed up to monitor. Wee-jae ordered the doctor to keep Sunju breathing at all costs. The group then proceeded to take Sunju to another place. In-sung and Se-yeon were stopped by the hospital staff, but Ma-pi found a way to break the siege, so In-sung could run inside. Ma-pi and Se-yeon also ran behind. When they entered the hospital room, they could no longer see Sunju. In-sung looked at the camera and found Sunju being pushed outside. The two boys ran down to the back gate of the hospital and saw a patient being put into an ambulance. They immediately ran to the main gate to follow. Se-yeon drove up and the three of them got in the car to chase the ambulance. In-sung checks the GPS and finds out that he can follow the car. Ma-Pi stops the ambulance and pulls it over. When they open the back door, they see another patient in the car. Sunju's phone is in the driver's seat. Sunju was taken away in another ambulance. Wee-jae is about to take Sunju out when he notices the phone lit up, so he leaves the phone in the ambulance first. Sunju is taken away in another ambulance. Ji calls the leader and reports that everything is done. Sunju claims that the body in the hospital room is his, but Sunju wonders why they let him live. Sunju thinks that they have to find the body before his usefulness runs out. Seon suggests looking in other mental hospitals, but Sunju thinks it's hopeless because there are nearly 1,600 sanatoriums and 432 psychiatric hospitals in the country. Seon came up with an idea and suggested meeting Young-gun. At the same time, Seon asked her and Ma-Pi to return to the psychiatric hospital. Ma-Pi used an arrogant attitude to ask to see the director. When Seon saw the doctor who had talked to Wee-jae last night come out, she showed him a picture of Sunju in the hospital room. The doctor said that it was just a lookalike. Ma-Pi immediately grabbed the doctor's hand. Many guards immediately ran over. When In-sung went to see Young-jun, he ran into Wee-jae. In-sung said he would send the video to the police to prove that Sunju had used a ventilator in the psychiatric hospital. Wee-jae said he would take out the ventilator. Wee-jae asked if In-sung wanted to become a murderer. Seon and Ma-Pi showed off the trophy they had just obtained, Dok Jong-baek's employee card. Before that, Ma-Pi had deliberately scuffled to distract Seon so that she could conveniently take the card. Ma-Pi compliments Seon's skill in mishandling the item, saying she is very clever. She explains why she does not follow the law to those who disregard the law. Seon begins to research Dr. Jong-baek's background. She discovers that he was prosecuted for manslaughter due to medical malpractice in 2012, but he was still appointed as the hospital director. She realizes that the patient who died due to medical malpractice was the only son of the late Chairman Bum. 10 years ago, when Mi-ran returned from studying abroad, her father only entrusted her with managing a subsidiary company. He said that the group would be handed over to her younger brother. Chairman Bum recognized Mi-ran's ambition, so he asked her to stop trying to cause trouble. While Mi-ran was standing at the Bum-young group's baseball field, she received the news that her biological brother had passed away. However, her face remained calm. That night, Seon went to the hospital room, but she did not see her mother. Seon tries to call Mi-ran, but cannot reach her. In-sung tells Sunju that he saw the report from Young-jun's room. The report shows that Baro 4.0 failed. Sunju confirms that this is true and explains that the artificial intelligence system made a mistake. The car ignored the user's commands and made its own decisions. Sunju adds that when experiencing the self-driving car technology, the car turned around at a red light because there was no surveillance camera. Judged the way to the destination on its own, violated the law, and ignored human opinion. Sunju believes that this is a fatal error. Sunju also says that he lost his memory of the week before the accident. He does not remember if he reported this to anyone. In-sung remembers Mi-ran's words. Mi-ran thinks that Sunju broke her promise to her. In-sung wonders if Sunju asked Director Kwak to send the report to Young-gun. At the same time, Mi-ran holds the Baro 4.0 test report in her hand. Mi-ran recalls that Sunju reported this fatal error, and he suggested postponing the release date to complete it. However, Mi-ran disagrees and demands that the product be released on the correct date. Sunju then promises to fix the error as soon as possible. Soon after, Mi-ran receives a call from Seon. Seon plugs the USB into Sunju's work computer to copy all of Baro 4.0 software data. When this is done, In-sung and Ma-Pi enter. In-sung expresses his suspicion that Jong-baek may have helped Mi-ran become the heir to the Bum-young group. In-sung sees Seon's worry and gently tells her that if she has any problems, she can confide in him. Seon feels guilty, so she tells In-sung that Young-jun asked her to bring the Baro 4.0 beta to Mi-ran. Seon says that since Sunju disappeared, Mi-ran has been seducing her, and now even brought her mother as a threat. Seon begs In-sung for help. In-sung goes to see Young-gun and tells Wee-jae that he doesn't dare pull out Sunju's breathing tube, because if he could, Wee-jae would have done it long ago. In-sung asks Wee-jae to report back to his real boss. When In-sung goes to see Young-gun, he realizes that In-sung is admitting to stealing the report from his office. In-sung explains that Sunju intended to ask Director Kwak to give the report to Young-gun, but Director Kwak changed his mind and was no longer loyal. Therefore, Young-gun did not know that the self-driving car project had a serious problem. Only when Inspector Choi returned the confidential documents found in Director Kwak's car did he learn that the project had failed. In-sung also emphasizes that Mi-ran is very powerful now, and the law is almost powerless to do anything to her. So In-sung suggests that if Young-gun weakens Mi-ran, he will be in charge of Bum-young's chairmanship. They can also rescue Sunju. Young-gun realizes that In-sung is using the enemy's power to attack another enemy. In-sung asks Young-gun to hold an an emergency shareholders meeting to remove director Mi-ran. In-sung explains that if Mi-ran's shares in Silver Lining are transferred to Young-gun, the removal plan will be approved. Meanwhile, Se-yeon meets Mi-ran, but she does not give her the USB. Se-yeon only says that In-sung saw Sunju's body. Se-yeon reminds Mi-ran that if she thinks Sunju betrayed her and killed him, she should be careful because In-sung is meeting Young-jun. If Mi-ran wants to stop the removal agreement, she must release Sunju. Mi-ran blames herself for underestimating Se-yeon. Mi-ran thinks her mother will be Se-yeon's weakness, but Se-yeon seems to have no fear. At this time, Se-yeon also admits that she saved her mother. Back to Sunju's story. That night, Sunju drove to see Director Kwak and asked him to secretly deliver the Borough 4.0 test report to Vice President Young-gun. However, the scheming Director Kwak made a copy and kept it in his room for emergencies. Director Kwak drove to the group's redevelopment area number 3 to deliver the original to Mi-ran. Director Kwak also said that Sunju had asked him to deliver it to Young-gun. At the same time, Ma-pi pushed Se-yeon's mother out despite the hospital staff's objections. Se-yeon finally reunited with her mother. Ma-pi held a tracking device in his hand. He had previously announced that he had attached the device to her mother's hospital bed in case of an accident. Thanks to that, they were able to determine the location. Se-yeon expressed her sincere gratitude to Ma-pi for saving her mother. Suddenly, In-sung's parents walked in to visit Se-yeon's mother. In-sung's father also brought the robot Baro so that Se-yeon's mother would not feel lonely. He promised that they would visit her often since the nursing home was so close to their home. Se-yeon couldn't contain her emotions and went out. In-sung followed Se-yeon and saw her sitting alone and sad. He gave her a talisman to stick on her mother's hospital bed. Se-yeon told In-sung that when she was in middle school, she was so excited that she couldn't sleep because of the field trip the next morning. But at that time, her mother cried outside the window because of the burden of raising her. Now that she's grown up, she realizes all those hardships, but she can't tell her mother that she's grateful for not giving up. She said that from that day on, she's always biting her lips and hiding her emotions so that her mother won't see her cry. Since Se-yeon met In-sung, she wishes that she could express and confide in her mother more like he does. If that were the case, her mother would be less lonely and tired. She regretted not doing so. When In-sung hugged Se-yeon, she suddenly kissed him on the lips. In-sung's parents also witnessed this moment. Later, when the two were in the car on their way home, they felt awkward. When they got home, Sunju asked why they didn't say a word to each other. Sunju suggested that Se-yeon move in with him so that it would be easier to take care of her mother in the nursing home. In-sung kept smiling and couldn't fall asleep. Sunju joked that In-sung was so happy because he was about to receive 2 billion won. Sunju thought that if Mi-ran was dismissed, she would be investigated and punished. Sunju could also find his body. Mi-ran secretly thought of a plan to respond. The next day, shareholders attended an emergency meeting. Young-jun stepped forward and proposed that everyone vote to dismiss Mi-ran. After counting the votes, he announced that more than 85% of the shares were against, so the dismissal was rejected. Young-gun called Mi-ran the night before and explained that In-sung had made an interesting proposal to take her down. However, Young-gun emphasized that launching a product when it was known to be defective would bring the group down. Young-jun did not want to sit on a crumbling throne. Mi-ran proposed a vote to remove CEO In-sung of Silver Lining. Many shareholders agreed. The board decided to remove In-sung as CEO. Sunju was helpless because Mi-ran and Young-gun's combined shares were too large. Sunju realized that they had set a trap for him. Director Kim announced that he would become the interim CEO of Silver Lining. In-sung had to leave. Se-yeon continued to stick to Sunju's instructions. Wee-jae went to see his real boss and reported that Young-gun intended to transfer Mi-ran to the US branch. After In-sung was fired, public opinion began to doubt the launch of self-driving cars. If Mi-ran gave the order, Wee-jae would deal with Sunju immediately. Mi-ran is worried that other shareholders will suspect her of being behind the incident and will no longer support her. 2 years ago, Jae was an army captain and had to take responsibility for embezzlement on behalf of his superiors. Mi-ran appears full of calculation and recruits Wee-jae to work for her. She helps him clear his name. Young-gun is worried that In-sung will find a way to return to the CEO position, so Young-gun decides to strike a decisive blow so that In-sung cannot return. If In-sung gets a bad reputation in the media, no matter how he explains, no one will believe him anymore. The next day, In-sung and Se-yeon step out of the house and are immediately ambushed by many reporters asking about him beating an employee and activating the sprinkler system during a group meeting. In-sung's parents watch the news and are shocked. They think In-sung was wrongly accused of murdering Sunju to be appointed CEO. When In-sung's father steps out, he sees many reporters surrounding him. They keep asking why his son became CEO. Did In-sung really hit the employee? In-sung didn't dare pick up the phone when his parents called. Sunju guessed that Young-jun was responsible for the the incident. Seon called to say that In-sung was being dismissed so that Boomyoung Electronics could easily steal all of Silver Lining's technology and personnel. Sunju emphasized that if Barrow 4.0 didn't fall into their hands, self-driving cars could still be launched. Even if the software was flawed, he said they didn't know when an accident would happen, so they had to stop Miran's plan. Ma-pi blocked Jong-baek's head and attacked him. Ma-pi forced the doctor to fight and asked where Sunju was being held. The doctor couldn't bear the weight of the punch, so he revealed that they usually used psychiatric hospitals or empty nursing homes to hold Sunju. Ma-pi searched the doctor's bag and found the notebook. Ma-pi detained the doctor there and went out to find Sunju. Ma-pi checks the mental hospitals in the book one by one, but he still hasn't found Sunju. Mina enters the room and shows them possess In-sung a live stream. The video features the janitor that In-sung helped. Seon hosted the live stream because the janitor took the initiative to meet Seon and wanted to help In-sung. She said that In-sung stood up for her when she was yelled at by a team leader in the company. She was often looked down upon for being a janitor and thought it was natural, but In-sung was the first to stand up for her. Young-jun is concerned about the situation and suggests taking down the broadcast immediately. Wee explains that this is Silver Lining's online channel. Young-jun asks to call Director Kim. Immediately, the company's security appears to stop the broadcast. Director Kim appears and sits in the middle of the frame. He announces that he is the temporary CEO of Silver Lining. He explained that In-sung had proposed a new business model for virtual reality glasses, a product that was on the verge of collapse. Thanks to this proposal, the company signed contracts with 32 countries and expected a 19.2% increase in profits in the second half of the year. Thanks to this proposal, more than 400 employees of subcontractors kept their jobs. In Sunju's eyes, In-sung was a better CEO and more deserving than himself. The next video showed In-sung saving a child in a stroller rolling down the stairs. A citizen sent this image to the TV station. His image was prominently displayed on the airwaves. Hyun-ho used all his assets to buy Silver Lining shares. Many people everywhere did the same. Images of buying shares flooded social media. In-sung's parents pooled all their money to buy shares, but they kept arguing because they didn't know whether to go to the bank or to the company. The robot Barrow advised them to just sit in one place and swipe on their phones. Sunju acknowledged that what In-sung had done helped him in his time of need. Seon runs in to announce the good news that a board meeting is about to be held to discuss In-sung's dismissal. Ma-pi continues to search for addresses in Jong-baek's notebook. When Ma-pi enters, a psychoanalyst enters the restroom. Ma-pi sees a bodyguard who used to work at the mental hospital where Sunju was detained. Ma-pi follows him. Ma-pi then finds Sunju and pushes him out. Ma-pi attacks those who dare to get in his way. Ma-pi puts Sunju in the ambulance and drives out of the sanatorium, while the remaining bodyguards chase after him. Meanwhile, In-sung and Seon confidently enter the board meeting chaired by Mi-ran. The meeting ends with In-sung being reappointed as CEO of Silver Lining. Ma-pi tries to call In-sung and Seon but is unable to reach them. Ma-pi calls Sunju's home and meets nanny Ji-hai. Ma-pi asked Ji-hai to tell In-sung that he had found Sunju. Ma-pi then took Sunju back to his base, but Jong-baek was no longer there. Suddenly, appeared and attacked Ma-pi. Although they all had weapons, Ma-pi still defeated them. When Ma-pi ran down to take Sunju away, a car appeared. Wee-jae led many of his men to get Sunju back. Ma-pi continued to fight with the large group of thugs, but he was punched in one eye. The thugs began to push Sunju into the car, leaving Ma-pi completely helpless. Finally, Ma-pi was thrown to the floor. Wee-jae approached and was punched in the face by Ma-pi. Wee-jae was extremely angry. Meanwhile, Sun was celebrating at the company. A while later, Seon received a phone call from nanny Ji-hae, informing her that Sunju had been found. In the car, In-sung read the message Ma-pi sent informing him that internal information had been leaked. When In-sung and Seon arrived, they saw Ma-pi sitting on the floor. Everyone came to pay their respects to his resting place. It was here that In-sung learned that Ma-pi's real name was Jang Ju-sung. Ji-hae caressed the tombstone to say goodbye to Ma-pi for the last time. Inspector Choi then drove to meet In-sung. Mina was still unaware of Ma-pi's passing. Inspector Choi gave In-sung a notebook and said that before Ma-pi died, he searched all the hospitals listed in the notebook to find Sun-ju. In-sung is called Inspector Choi Young-gun's spy. In-sung asked if he had given the Barrow 4.0 report he found in Director Kwak's car to Young-gun. Inspector Choi explained that In-sung was wrong. He had only come to give Young-gun the confidential documents he found in Director Kwak's car. Inspector Choi said that this was because Young-gun knew the chief, who was also his boss. He had secretly followed Boomyoung longer than In-sung thought. The notebook contains all of his investigation records. Inspector Choi tells In-sung to call back if he changes his mind. In-sung goes home and studies the file. Then In-sung tells Seon that Ma-pi texted him. Only one person knows that In-sung told everyone to come to his place, and that is the nanny Ji-hae. When In-sung plays hide-and-seek with Mina, he also hears Ji-hae reporting the situation to someone. The next day, both of them start to be more careful with Ji-hae. In-sung returns to work at the company as the general director. Suddenly, Mi-ran walks in with a friendly attitude. In-sung asks Mi-ran why she killed his bodyguard. Mi-ran pretends to be confused and asks what In-sung's relationship with Sun-ju is. At the same time, Mi-ran warns that the next person could be In-sung or his family. Just then, Sun-ju's voice rings out, causing Mi-ran to panic. She doesn't understand what's going on, so she immediately leaves the office. Mi-ran then went straight to where Sun-ju was being held. Mi-ran asked Wee-jae if Sun-ju was still in a coma. Wee-jae confirmed that Sun-ju had been there since the accident. Mi-ran immediately called Wee-jae to order him to take action. Wee-jae sat on the container and drove in front of Sun-ju's car and turned on the signal-cutting device, making it impossible for him to contact his daughter. The container then blocked Sun-ju's car. Sang-won also brought many of his men, forcing Sun-ju to run up the mountain. Sun-ju's car was also put on the container. When Sun-ju ran up, Sang-won blocked his way. Sun-ju had to pick up an empty bottle to defend himself, but he was still restrained. During the fight, Sun-ju resisted and unfortunately fell off the cliff and passed out. Jong-bak called Mi-ran to report that Sun-ju had a diffuse cranial injury. It was unknown when he would wake up. Wee-jae took the blame for his negligence. Ji intended to remove Sun-ju's breathing tube to send him away, but Mi-ran stopped him because a dark plot arose in her mind. Wee-jae once again tried to pull out Sun-ju's breathing tube, but Mi-ran stopped her. She said that Sun-ju was her trump card. Back in the present, Se-yeon blamed Sun-ju for revealing his true voice in front of Mi-ran. Sun-ju explained that he wanted to confuse the enemy, making it seem like there was someone behind her. Mi-ran's fear increased because she didn't know who the enemy was. In-sung received a call that the nanny, Ji-hae, had just left the house with her bag. The two immediately followed Ji-hae to investigate. They caught Ji-hae talking to a mother holding a child. Ji-hae explained that she only sold used items. Ji-hae regretted the clothes Mina no longer used. Se-yeon checked and confirmed that it was true. Ji-hae had been secretly selling Mina's items for a long time. Ji-hae even became a senior member of the Second-Hand Goods Association. When In-sung asked about Mapi's leaked messages, Ji-hae said that she didn't tell anyone except them and butler Shim-sung. Mina was at home at the time, and butler Shim-sung was a spy in the house. 3 months ago, Shim-sung was asked by Mi-ran to follow CEO In-sung. At first, he refused, but then his son reported that he had found a job at the car seat supplier Boomyung, so Shim-sung decided to side with Mi-ran. That day, when Ji-hae answered Mapi's phone call, Shim-sung also heard everything. Sun-ju searched for information and found out that Shim-sung's son was working for the car partner company Boomyung. In-sung immediately came up with a plan to exchange between the two sides. At this time, Young-jun also discovered that Mi-ran was the mastermind behind the murder of In-sung's bodyguard. So Young-jun wanted to make a final move to force Mi-ran to give up her CEO position, but Young-jun didn't know that Wee-jae had betrayed him. The next day, while Hyun-ho was working as a delivery man, he suddenly saw a news report about Sun-ju's suspected death. At the same time, In-sung was having dinner when he received a call from Hyun-ho. Then, In-sung turned on the TV as instructed by Hyun-ho and saw the news. The news mentioned Sun-ju, the former CEO of Silver Lining, who was rumored to have passed away. Se-yeon saw this and quickly turned off the news to avoid hurting Mina. Mi-ran realized that this was Young-gon's plot to prevent her from releasing a self-driving car on National Day. Young-jun warned Mi-ran not to daydream or he would reveal who was behind Sun-ju's disappearance. Sun-ju told In-sung that he had predicted this since he woke up. He emphasized that now was the time to let the world know the truth. In-sung needed to prepare for the debut. In-sung met Mina and told her he would tell her a secret, but Mina promised not to tell anyone. Sun-ju appeared on Mina's phone. He greets his daughter and explains that he hasn't found a way out yet, but Sun-ju promises to return soon. In-sung enters the office to talk to Se-yeon. When they spot Shim-sung lurking outside the door, they both deliberately say that Baro 4.0 is complete. Shim-sung immediately calls Mi-ran to tell her the hot news. When she learns that the self-driving car brain technology is complete, she laughs loudly with glee. Immediately, In-sung is stopped by bodyguards. He is asked to get in the car to talk to Mi-ran. He announces that Baro 4.0 is complete and ready to give it to her, but she must return to Sun-ju. In-sung steps onto the stage of Silver Lining's product launch and begins acting. In-sung announces that CEO Sun-ju is not missing. In-sung explains that Sun-ju secretly programmed Baro 4.0 and the software is now complete. Sun-ju immediately appears on the big screen to greet the audience and apologizes that he cannot reveal his current location due to security reasons. When the reporter suspected that this was defect technology, Mi-ran appeared next to Sun-ju and introduced the self-driving car that was a collaboration between Silver Lining and Boomyung Cars. The reporter asked hundreds of questions to both leaders. Then Mi-ran happily met In-sung In-sung, thinking that she had just met Sunju for real. In-sung reminded Mi-ran to keep the promise they had discussed. She suggested meeting him at the mansion at 4 p.m. this Saturday. Young-jeon was extremely angry when Mi-ran wanted to take back the chairman position. Wee-jae also showed his indignation. Sunju was worried because he had to go to a strange place to discuss. In the worst case, they could lose Barrow 4.0, and his body had not been returned yet. In-sung made a backup plan. In-sung made an appointment to meet Inspector Choi and told him that he would send the mansion's address at 4 p.m. on Saturday. In-sung reminded that the important evidence to arrest Mi-ran would be placed there, so Inspector Choi needed to remember it. Wee-jae reports to Mi-ran that Young-geun is looking into whether Barrow 4.0 is complete. She replies that it doesn't matter. As long as the self-driving car information is released, Boomyoung's car stocks will rise. She will be the chairman. Regarding Sunju's body, Mi-ran affirms that she has never let anyone steal anything from her in her life. In-sung drives with Se-yeon to the mansion on the appointed day. The bodyguards carefully search the two. Several police cars appear shortly after. Inspector Choi and his colleagues search every corner of the house. Outside, Se-yeon and In-sung are tied up by masked bodyguards and put into the car. The police approach the bed where Sunju used to sleep but find no one. Se-yeon recognizes Silver Lining's outsourced servers where Barrow 4.0's data is stored. Wee-jae appears and looks upset because In-sung called the police. Wee-jae offers to exchange Barrow 4.0 for Sunju. Se-yeon agrees to give the USB to Wee-jae. In-sung and Se-yeon quickly run to the container carrying Sunju. In-sung uses the camera to let Sunju check the body. The staff checking the data in the USB tells Wee-jae that it is indeed Barrow 4.0. Se-yeon holds Sunju and climbs into the cockpit, but Wee-jae pulls out a gun to suppress In-sung. In-sung suggests that Se-yeon run. If she gets down, both of them could die. Sunju warns that using probability, Se-yeon also risks serious injury. Se-yeon hesitates, but she finally moves to the back of the container. She steps on the gas and pushes the container back. In-sung crawls out from under the chassis and climbs into the cockpit, while Se-yeon drives to save all three. Sunju's phone flashes. The servers start to burn. When they get out of the car, In-sung and Se-yeon see many fire trucks pulling up to the Silver Lining server. Se-yeon remembers Sunju saying that he used himself for Barrow to simulate humans through deep learning technology, and the data is updated. Every Monday, Sunju explains that Barrow 4.0 thinks and makes judgments like him. In-sung checks and finds out that Barrow 4.0 was installed on the phone on the day Sunju had the accident. In-sung realizes that the phone is not Sunju's soul, but Barrow 4.0. That evening, when Sunju was chased by the thugs, he launches Barrow 4.0 and hides the phone next to a rock. The software is immediately activated. Se-yeon and In-sung realize that they thought Sunju's soul was trapped in the phone all this time, but it is actually an AI product. Sunju is actually still unconscious. In-sung and Se-yeon take Sunju to a nursing home for care. Inspector Choi says there is no evidence to arrest Mi-ran because she has not committed any obvious crime. Inspector Choi suggests keeping Sunju's condition a secret. Not long after, In-sung's parents appear out of concern. In-sung tells the whole truth that he has replaced Sunju as temporary CEO. Se-yeon introduces herself as In-sung's secretary. The next day, In-sung turns on the simulated Sunju and announces that the Barrow 4.0 server room had a fire, but it was fixed. The simulated Sunju explains that he is not the real Sunju, but an AI programmed to act like him. Before In-sung's accident, he had activated the Barrow 4.0 test version so that In-sung could replace him and find the truth. The simulated Sunju promises to ask In-sung to help find the truth and still considers him Sunju until the end of the incident. At this time, Young-geun throws Mi-ran a plane ticket and asks her to go to the US branch to work. She insists that the position of group president still belongs to her. Soon after, Young-geun is arrested because Wee-jae accuses him of embezzlement and inciting murder. Se-yeon wonders why Wee-jae accepts to sacrifice for Mi-ran. Se-yeon explains that Mi-ran often takes advantage of the other person's relatives to bring them to her side. For Se-yeon, it's her mother. For housekeeper Shim-sung, it's his son. Sunju adds that Wee-jae has no family. Wee-jae is currently in prison. Young-geun is interrogated by Inspector Choi. Inspector Choi pulls down the curtains and asks Young-geun how Wee-jae became his driver. If he reveals, Mi-ran will be thrown in jail immediately. Choi tells In-sung that Wee-jae was a professional soldier from the same hometown as Young-geun. When the former driver quits, Se-yeon recommends Wee-jae to Young-geun. The next day, Mi-ran leads a meeting to prepare for the self-driving car test run that is scheduled to be broadcast live at home and abroad. At the end of the meeting, Mi-ran thanks In-sung for donating Barrow 4.0. Sunju informs him that he installed the hacking software before In-sung received it. Inspector Choi gives In-sung a file containing Wee-jae's criminal record. In-sung goes to the prison to see Wee-jae and asks about his time in the military. Wee-jae is about to be accused of embezzling public funds for his superior. Perhaps it is thanks to Mi-ran's help that he can and clear his name. Weej confirms that his superior is Colonel Moon, who is currently a member of the National Assembly. Weej explains that Moon needs a lot of support money to run for election successfully, and on the day of his discharge, someone transferred 500 million won to Moon. Weej admits that it was all Mi-ran's plan to make her his benefactor. In-sung believes that Weej is just Mi-ran's pawn. Weej concludes that he has no evidence against Mi-ran. Se-yeon says that she has been completely loyal to Mi-ran, but Dr. Jong-baek may be different because he is very important. Mi-ran keeps Jong-baek's interests in mind to protect Sunju's life. Now that Sunju is in In-sung's hands, Mi-ran may not let Jong-baek live anymore. Se-yeon asks Hyun-ho to do her a favor. Hyun-ho used to be a promising young actor of the Evergreen Theater troupe. Hyun-ho disguises himself as his boss and sits at a coffee shop. Jong-baek goes to meet this boss. Hyun-ho introduces himself as Mi-ran's new manager, replacing Weej, who is in prison. Hyun-ho asks to hand over all the documents he has kept to avoid taking the blame from Mi-ran. Jong-baek is frightened by Hyun-ho's decisive attitude, so he hands over all the evidence he collected while working with Mi-ran. Hyun-ho hands over the box of documents to In-sung, and the two celebrate. Jong-baek calls to order his wife and child to leave Korea immediately. Suddenly, a car drives up, forcing Jong-baek to run into the elevator. One of Mi-ran's thugs tries to deal with Jong-baek, but Inspector Choi appears in time and restrains him. The next day, Boomyoung's self-driving car launch takes place and is broadcast globally. In-sung approaches Mi-ran and grabs the microphone and says that she should be the first to test the product to prove its safety. Mi-ran cannot refuse. Sunju simulates and prepares to take action. In-sung and Mi-ran sit in a self-driving car, and all the actions in the car are broadcast live, including the journey outside. The car runs smoothly until reaching an intersection. The car starts to accelerate out of control and deviates from the predetermined route, causing panic among the public. Se-yeon explains that Baro 4.0, when it finds a new, more suitable route, will act on its own. Once it gets out of control, the situation will be very dangerous. Sunju wants to postpone the debut date to warn Mi-ran and protect herself. A viral video shows Dr. Jong-baek operating on Sunju with instructions to keep him breathing. While Mi-ran watches the video, the car stops and many police cars appear behind. Mi-ran asks who ordered In-sung to do all this. In-sung replies that it is the real CEO of Silver Lining, Sunju. This makes Mi-ran extremely confused. In-sung gets out of the car. Mi-ran closed the door and ordered the car to drive to the nearest heliport. In-sung and Inspector Choi got in the car to chase Michigan Ran. Everything was according to Sunju's plan. Because Sunju knew Mi-ran would try to escape, Mi-ran calmly sat in the car. She realized she had arrived at the heliport, but when she opened the door, she only saw the police and In-sung outside. It turned out that all the images on the car window were just projections, so Mi-ran was taken out by the police and confronted with Sunju's comatose body. At this time, Shim-sung also appeared and confessed that he used to be Mi-ran's henchman. He accepted the arrest. In-sung also accused Mi-ran of murdering her younger brother, Director Kwak, and Ma P. All the evidence was in the file that In-sung held. Mi-ran could not deny it, so she was handcuffed and taken to the police station. Mi-ran passed by Sunju's body. Inspector Choi immediately led the delegation to search Boomyoung Company. Mi-ran was so shocked that she fell ill. She had to use a wheelchair and received anger from everyone. Boomyoung Group's stock price immediately dropped by half, putting the group at risk of collapse. Finding a professional manager to take over the group was only a matter of time, because too many related cases had been exposed. At this time, Se-yeon told Mina the truth that the father on the phone was not her real father, but just an artificial intelligence. Mina's real father was still in a coma. Sunju simulated In-sung and told him that he was afraid that Mina would feel betrayed when she knew he was just a fake father. Sunju himself had said that if artificial intelligence formed emotions, it was a flaw and a fatal software error, and since it was a software error, it was not allowed to exist. After saying that, the system automatically installed a command to delete him from the phone, but Mina suddenly ran to pick up the phone and burst into tears. The phone then suddenly showed signs of recovery. After a while, Mi-ran gradually got used to life in the place that would be her permanent home. Se-yeon's mother was still in a coma, but In-sung's parents often visited to make her less lonely. Meanwhile, In-sung sat in the position of a recruiter and scolded the candidate, but in fact, he was just filming a movie. In-sung returned to his passion for acting. Soon after, In-sung continued to participate in another movie with Hyun-ho. Although In-sung did not play the main role, he still had his own fans. One day, In-sung brought a bouquet of flowers to express his feelings for Se-yeon. While the two were sitting on the beach enjoying the scenery, the fake Sunju appeared and interrupted their first date. In-sung saw this and quickly let the fake Sunju down on the sand. A moment later, the couple officially became a couple and shared a sweet kiss. At home, Mina and Ji-hae prepared to go visit Ma P. Before leaving, she ran in to inform her father. Little did she know that even though Sunju was still lying unconscious on the bed, his eyes had already started to move. The movie ends here. Thank you for watching, goodbye, and see you again.